All right, good morning, everybody. How we doing on a Monday for some?
Doing great.
I know it's a victory Monday for you. Congratulations.
Thank
Fourth
you.
and Monday.
Thank you.
You're a 2.5-point underdog to the Packers
We
this
are.
weekend.
I feel good about it. I've never felt more confident about
Yeah?
a Bears-Packers game in maybe my life.
Wait, we're back?
We are so back.
Okay.
I'm so glad.
Last week you had me worried.
I'm sorry. I'm going to take my victory lap real quick because
Yeah,
I know
go
that
ahead.
with
You
you two
got
guys,
10 wins.
Oh, yeah.
it's the sixth time since I've been born that they've had 10 or more wins. Okay. It's sad. It's 25% of my life. 75% of my life has been lived under the double-digit mark as a Bears fan. I'm glad they blew out the Browns so we could all shut the hell up about the whole point differential thing. Because everybody's like, oh, the point differential. They got a terrible point differential.
Played a bad team yesterday.
We played a terrible team.
Their head coach gave Shadur Sanders the wrong wristband to begin the game.
I saw that.
That's how bad that team is.
They came out of the kickoff with the delay of game. I was like, I haven't seen this since like Nebraska about a year and a half ago.
He'd be the first on Black Monday.
It was in probably.
Oh,
I think it's time to move on from Kevin Stefanski.
And it's probably time to. I don't think they even have their quarterback in Cleveland.
No, I mean
Who likes their quarterback? Very few teams like their quarterback. Vikings fans, you're 4-4 with J.J. McCarthy, and you don't like J.J. McCarthy?
Well, I tried texting notable Vikings fan Mike Schaefer yesterday about J.J. McCarthy and being like, hey, man, like he looks confident. Like he's throwing the football really well. They're calling the plays
He
for
didn't
him.
like his gritty?
He was like, they're playing the Cowboys. So even when his supposed to be franchise quarterback is playing well, that fan base still finds a way to make themselves miserable. But do you know who's not miserable? The Chicago Bears. We are.
I'm happy for you. You got 10 wins?
Just one more win. You just got to get one more win, and we're for sure in the dance. Okay. I think there's only been like one team in NFL history to win 11 games and not make the playoffs. So win 11, and we're good.
So what do you finish with? Packers, Lions, Niners?
Packers, Niners, Lions.
Okay.
So,
you get that night.
All three teams that'll be battling for a playoff spot.
Yes, unless if the Bears beat the Packers and the Lions lose to the Steelers, then the Bears are in. So we're going to have 3 weeks potentially. Just get to the dance.
Can we talk about this idiotic thing that happened yesterday? Like all around the NFL, it looked cold. There were a lot of places that were just cold. And then there was Jacksonville.
Well, and then there's Denver. Denver was beautiful. Denver was like 60 degrees.
Montana and South Dakota played on Saturday. It was like 50 degrees.
Yeah, I was watching for snow.
Missoula. Okay.
Shout out to
football weather is sunny, calm, and 62. Football weather is not the miserable, cold, where if you're at Soldier Field yesterday, you open a bottle of soda and it immediately freezes. That is not football weather.
That was a great video. That was by the way, too.
That's the Gary Sharp I know.
I'm going to be honest with you. One of the things that I don't enjoy is when I get on Twitter or when I'm watching a game and you're in cold weather like that.
Yeah.
Like it's below freezing and somebody's taking off their shirt. Right. And everybody like they're
You
naked.
don't like shirtless men.
No.
That might be a sign.
No. First off,
what's your thing? You don't like shirtless men. You don't like the trend in college football where people go shirtless and they helicopter?
That is fun.
Now you don't like shirtless men.
Okay.
In cold weather games.
I get worried about the guys.
Why?
I do.
That's on them.
I get concerned. I don't want them to get hypothermia. I don't want them to die of
than me
of cold in the stands. It makes me uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable how uncomfortable they might be.
That's not you. No worry.
Yeah. I know.
Or maybe you have a kind heart. Maybe you've developed a heart. And you have a care for people that you don't know.
You don't think I had a heart before?
Give them time.
Not strangers.
Give them time.
Kids your age, they only care about themselves. Like strangers are like, you know what? If you get hit by a bus, that's fine. I could have told you the bus comes by here at 4:30 every day.
I look at them and I go, okay, we get it. You're cool. You're awesome. You know, it's very funny. Put your stuff back on.
Yeah.
Okay. And get warm. Don't do that to yourself.
Well,
you're not tough to anybody.
If they check out due to hypothermia, that's on them. Some people were born with a brain.
I've never looked at a shirtless guy at a very cold football game and said, you know what I want to be when I grow up? I want to be that guy. Okay. I've never been like, man, I wish I was him. I think that guy's cool. I think you're a dummy. Put your hoodie back on and get warm.
All right. What a weekend of sports as we come to you on this, the middle of December, 10 days from Christmas. All I can think about, I believe that you might have been No, I don't even think you were born yet. Do you remember ABC's Wide World of Sports?
No.
Yeah, have you ever seen any?
I have seen the highlights. Yes, I
The
know
intro.
I know what the ABC Wide World of Sports is, but I don't have a memory of sitting down and watching.
So the open to ABC's Wide World of Sports, which no longer exists, along with the Superstars, which was a pretty cool competition. They opened up with Jim McKay, and the phrase was "spanning the globe to bring you a constant variety of sports." So this is how I'm theming this weekend. Okay, I had trust me. Your boy has gone through the gamut of emotions with sports this weekend.
Yeah.
So you have the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, which is perfect for all of the local sports fans. Yeah, stop that. It's the perfect microcosm of the weekend. And then there is the last line is the human drama of athletic competition. So I think the weekend of sports around here is the perfect in that open to ABC's Wild World of Sports, because I'm going to tell you, we went through the gamut beginning on Friday, Saturday, yesterday, where one of the major stunners, Nebraska volleyball, they were only going to make news twice. One, if they remained unbeaten and won a national championship, or they lost.
Yeah.
And they lost yesterday. It was a stunner in 5 at the Devaney Center against Texas A&M. But sports are crazy. Sports sometimes don't make sense. Injuries don't make sense. Injuries saps the soul out of you.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with an injury. It's all about survival, kind of. Like in the NFL, this time of the year is all about survival. But sports, when you think you have it figured out, and we talk on the radio for a long time, and we think, we know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You don't know. Because whoever is better in that particular moment, you may play 10 times and you may win 9 times, but the one time that it matters, that's the one that decides everything, you don't come through, man. That's what makes sports so great. That's what makes sports so awful. That's why we either let 105 plus men, 12 women, 53 men influence our mood as we go about our daily life. I don't know that that's healthy. I think as I've gotten older, I have not let it influence me as much. I got to tell you, man. Your boy over here, I went through the gamut of emotions this weekend watching all the sports, and somehow, some way, it is Monday morning, and I think, I was listening to my favorite TV weather guy this morning, I think the sun is going to come up. Damn, that's going to be a tough sun coming out of the horizon, because yesterday was,
wow. We'll see here in about an hour and a half.
I think for me, like, so I'm growing up essentially, like, and I've grown up a little bit.
Not really.
No, I'm saying that through my life, I've grown up in an era of like sports betting and gambling, and odds have always been like prevalent, and not just like prevalent amongst my dad and his bookie, but like prevalent like on the TV.
Dad's got a bookie?
Had one.
Shout out, Dad.
Still,
how's your dad not in jail? Everything you say about your dad.
What do you mean? My dad's a great
seems
guy.
like a shyster.
No, he's not. You would love my father. That's probably
the picture he sent. I want to hang out with him.
You honestly remind me a little bit of my father, which is kind of funny. So you're both shysters.
I kind of have to play that role.
But anyway, like I think sometimes I have to remind myself that the games are played for a reason. You know, that I'm told all the time, like, oh, they're a big underdog, or they're a massive favorite, or, you know, on paper, this team absolutely should dominate this team. But then I have to remind myself, hey, we go out and we play the games for a certain reason. I think that for the good on Saturday, Nebraska basketball reminded you of that.
I'm going to pass out.
Yeah, that was one of I listened to that call over and over and over again on Saturday night. Like it was awesome.
Relatable.
It's so good. And then on Sunday, for the unfortunate, you get reminded, hey, this is why you play the games. Because somebody tweeted at me, and I'm going to say his name, Black Cat tweeted at me before the game, hey, Nebraska volleyball is only a minus 2,000 favorite to win this match. You probably this is probably the one to bet on. This is probably the one to get really, really good odds. So yeah, you go through the ups, you go through the downs, you kind of get reminded for the fun why you love sports so much, and then you get reminded for the bad why sports can be how you put it, just so agonizing.
And you also get reminded that us as fans take losses maybe differently than athletes or coaches as they appear on the outside.
Great point.
Because that was on full display yesterday. So the stunner in Lincoln where the dominating season by Nebraska volleyball comes to an end at 33-1. And the more I think about it, which includes 5 sets of high level, great volleyball that was a showcase for that wonderful sport that I don't know if KTV, we're not really a metered market. So like TV ratings are not public in this market. If they will release what their ratings were between 2 and 5 o'clock yesterday, because I got to imagine it was through the roof. I would think because, the NFL was crazy yesterday, where there were 6 teams that trailed by 10 points and came back and won yesterday.
Yeah.
And that 3:25 window was really, really good. Mm-hmm. But across the country, when a team like Nebraska, which is dominating, number one, is being stressed, I got to imagine more people were tuning in. I can't wait to see the breakdown of ABC and the TV ratings as it went along from the beginning to the end, because it was a great showcase for volleyball. And of course, it included that epic 4th set. But the more I think about what happened in Lincoln yesterday, and the season is over, and people in the Power and Light District in Kansas City are like, oh, man.
Yeah.
And there was an upset right afterwards. Wisconsin, man, the guy from Goonies, is going to the Final Four. They upset Texas in 4. I don't know, considering the circumstances with an injury, an illness, and one of your best, if not best player was not very good at all yesterday. I don't know what Nebraska could have done differently. Yesterday, to me, was more about Texas A&M and what they did in staring into the eye of the beast and throwing punches and never flinching and sticking in there and doing what they did. And the better team in the moment yesterday won. I don't know what Nebraska would do differently. I just don't. That they were stressed by Texas A&M, and kudos to them. They have a coach that told you we're not afraid. Man, his team backed that up, and that is one hell of an upset. But maybe if you thought about it, it might not be as big an upset as you think because of who they were and what they did.
Yeah,
man, that's after an exhilarating Saturday to have that at 5 o'clock. Look at 24 hours, a shot in Champaign, to a kill at the Devaney Center. I mean, that is sports. Yeah. That's why sports are crazy. That's why sports take us through the gamut. That's why we're here to talk about sports. But we're gonna talk a lot about 33-1 for a while.
There was somebody who was trying to tell me that what happened Nebraska volleyball did yesterday was a choke job. And my immediate response was, did you not watch the game? I was like, did you not watch? Because if you watch the game, you saw to what you were saying. Texas A&M was awesome. Yep. Texas, I mean, like their serve, they had 9 aces yesterday. They were serving the crap out of the ball. Their offense was super quick and was able to get past the block in Nebraska. Their defense was super quick where they set up their block and their block was dominant. Like they played an incredible game of volleyball, and they were a 3 seed for a reason. And they're one of the top teams in the country for a reason. And so I think in their crowd, their like family and friends section, everything like that. I mean, look, the Bob is the Bob, right? I mean, it's a home field advantage. I mean, it's one of the best home field advantages in all of volleyball for Nebraska. But like, they had a ton of momentum. They had a ton of momentum from the first set, and they carried it all the way through the 5th set. And they had
a ton of momentum from Friday night. And they had a reverse sweep.
Yeah, against Louisville.
Keep their season alive.
And you go ahead and they just the bottom never fell out for them. It just never fell. They just kept it going. They kept playing high level volleyball. It did not matter if Nebraska fight. There was one moment, I think in the 4th set, Nebraska goes on like a 5-point run, and I go, hey, this is it. Like Nebraska's going to win this thing. Like they're finally here. Like they finally figured it out. It took Nebraska 10 set points in set 4 to win that thing. It took them 10 times.
You say that with a little anger in your voice.
Well, no, I say that with like
that was an epic 4th set.
It was. I say that with emphasizing how many times that Texas A&M had their back against the wall in that 4th set, and they were able 2 different times to get it to a match point. Yeah. Like they did not give up. They did not back down. They played like one of the best teams in the country. And I think you're kind of spot on the fact that it's not so much about, Nebraska volleyball played terribly or Nebraska volleyball was awful. I think
they did some uncharacteristic things, like Andy Jackson didn't show up yesterday.
Well, that
and they started to tip stuff again. which they did last year against Penn State in the NCAA tournament under Danny. They haven't done that this year. They've taken some big swings. They're not into tipping. They were made uncomfortable. And they hadn't been made uncomfortable very much this year until the end. And Texas A&M made them uncomfortable and put them, the serve receive was not very good, which has kind of under the surface has been an issue this year, but there's not enough teams that Nebraska's played where they could do that and they could really make it an issue. And Texas A&M was built to do that. Just Texas A&M stressed Nebraska, and one kind of on the heels of your point about Texas A&M. I'll tell you what is impressive is so they have the epic Game 4, 37-35. I mean, I imagine that people that were watching at home, your hands were red from clapping, yelling, walking, pacing, all of that kind of stuff. You maybe had a cigarette between 4 and 5, or you had a drink. Is once the fifth set started and the place is going absolutely bonkers, and you're like, okay, this is where Nebraska's put their feet on the ground. Nebraska will take over because they're Nebraska. Texas A&M never flinched. Man, I don't think they ever trailed in the fifth set. Now, there were a couple of ties, but they never trailed, and they just kept throwing punches. And Nebraska would throw a punch back, and then Texas A&M would respond. It was impressive what Texas A&M did, but at the end of the day, to go 33-1, it's disappointment. You cannot run away from the fact that this is a disappointing season in Lincoln because the championship is the goal every year, and it should be the goal every year. That program is a premier program that players that are in the program, that's their goal when they begin training. When they start back up in January, man, it's going to be tough not to see Becca Alec. Jesus. That's a heart and soul that will not be part of Nebraska volleyball moving forward because she's out of eligibility, but it's a disappointment. Your goal is to win the championship every year, and when you don't win it, it has to be labeled as a disappointment. And, there's levels of, whoa, they were 33-1. Not a failure, but a disappointment. And now you got to start back up again. And, what will next year look like? But wow, what a sporting display at the Devaney Center yesterday, and what a great showcase for the sport of volleyball. And we'll see if Nebraska's learned. That's 3 straight years of coming up short. And they'll turn around and they'll do it again, and there'll be a lot of excitement, and they'll be really good again. And what will it take to get over the hump in trying to win championships, which are not easy, not easy at all. Hasn't been the case at Nebraska. It's now a little bit since you won a championship. But that was a fun season. 34 matches. Just the 34th didn't go the way for Nebraska, and now we're on to basketball.
Two things that you said, right? Number one, you want to know if they'll release the ratings on ABC, what that looked like. I had 2 different people who I know haven't watched one volleyball match all year text me and be like, hey, what's going on? And off the heels of what you said too, I answered one of them by saying they're getting squeezed, and they really haven't been squeezed all year. There was dating back to, I think, August, right? When they played Kentucky, that was kind of the last time they were down 2 sets and had to come back and pull off a reverse sweep. I compared it to in Miracle when the Soviets are losing to the USA, and they're in the 3rd period and they're not pulling their goalie, and Herb Brooks is they haven't been here before. They don't know what they're doing because they're never trailing. And I'm not saying that Nebraska didn't know what they were doing, but they haven't been in those moments where it's hey, Bergen is sick, and Allie went down with
even being sick. The performance she had, but God, she was about the color of the jersey that she was wearing. She was pale, man.
And Andy Jackson hasn't had a game like that all year long. And I'll say this, we'll look back on it because they lost and be like, should DBK have put her back in the 5th set? I think if they won, we would have been like, oh my God, Danny Busboom Kelly's a genius for making that switch. It's kind of all in the eye of the beholder.
I think if you follow Nebraska volleyball this season, when players haven't played well, and I don't care. Now, you could have pulled, there were times Harper Murray wasn't playing well.
Sure.
I think in this case, Texas A&M had Andy Jackson figured out, and when you don't have Flynn, and then you have, and maybe this is, sports are crazy because it's all about availability and in the moment, is they had a freak injury.
They did.
They had a freak injury to a key player who would have probably relieved some stress and would have allowed you to do a couple of different things before the match even began. Yeah. You stepped on a volleyball. It's like, you've been healthy all year, and then all of a sudden you lose Campbell Flynn, who is a key part, to a broken finger.
Yeah.
Then you lose a player on the day to go to the Final Four, and you're like, wow, sometimes that's sports. But they had figured her out. She did not play well at all. And I think in the moment, and this will be a question that will linger for a while, is, the last 57 points, Andy Jackson was on the bench.
Yeah.
But she's done it all year with certain players. If they're not performing well, she sits them. But I think Texas A&M had her figured out. Andy Jackson wasn't very good. The big one for me was, I think Olivia Mock should have played more yesterday.
In the passing, and that's the one thing. Like, when they lost to Texas a couple of years ago, like, that was the serve receive was like the killer. Like, they could not pass the ball. And DBK said in her post game, they figured it out, right? Mm-hmm. As the game went on. But the fact that their passing was bad and Texas A&M was able to win that first set basically because of that 10-0 service run where they could not pass the ball, like, that gave them the momentum and gave them the confidence and gave them what they needed to then go on that run and win that game. Like, if Nebraska wins the first set, like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, hey, we're kind of back in business, and you don't allow Texas A&M, because Texas A&M believed they could win that match before they stepped onto the court.
Because they have a head coach who has an older team, and remember, they've been to Lincoln before.
Yeah,
so they kind of know that environment a little bit, and then Friday night they're not playing Nebraska, but they're in that environment. They know what they're getting into. They've been in Lincoln for a couple of days.
Yeah,
I mean, it was pretty clear showing up on my TikTok. Like, this was a battle of elite TikToks yesterday. Texas A&M players were like everywhere in Lincoln.
Really?
Yeah, they were doing TikToks. Like, there were a lot of places I was trying to recognize. Like, okay, where are they staying? I think you'll go back and look at this, and this is, you roll through 33 matches, and all of a sudden you get pressured, and you have somebody, and Rebecca Alec and Danny Busboom Kelly said after Friday night, we can't wait for somebody to punch us. And Texas A&M punched us. I'll say one disappointing thing is dealing with that is look at the body language through the first two sets. Now, good for Nebraska. They picked it up in the third, and they won that marathon in the fourth. But after the first two sets, the body language, whether it be on the bench or on the floor, was so much different. Mm-hmm. Now, they dug in and they grabbed energy and they came back. But Texas A&M, that is an impressive performance, what they did with a coach who wants to be like Nebraska. Yeah. He wants to have the environment. He wants to have the success. And to be like Nebraska, you got to beat Nebraska. Mm-hmm. But that guy didn't flinch. He might be cocky, and he was all over the place. If you watch him, like, not a lot of head coaches stand.
Yeah.
But he was everywhere.
He was.
And he was like they were the right team and the right coach with the right attitude to be at the front of the line to pull off an upset like that. That is not a one seed. That is not Kentucky or Texas or one of the big programs in the country. So 33-1. There'll be a lot to break down on this season, and Nebraska will move forward. But I think one of my quick takeaways afterwards is, now we're on 3 years of high expectations and coming up short, and whether it be in the national semifinals of the championship or in the Elite Eight on your own home floor. And I asked this, and I would like people to respond. If as a fan, you were surprised at the emotions of the coaches and players because they didn't match yours. Because sometimes it does. One thing that has grown and is different during this stretch of disappointing endings, Harper Murray has matured. You go back to post-Texas, what she said in that post-game, and, at the time we didn't know she was going through so much stuff, and she's gone through a lot, and she's kind of come out the back end where she mature. I think we saw Harper Murray, and this is it for her next year. I mean, can you imagine a Harper Murray going through her 4-year career and not winning a national championship? You saw a different side of Harper Murray that is completely different from 2 years ago. What she did for Rebecca Alec in that postgame calmed her down and just kind of gave a mature response. She wasn't in tears. She wasn't distraught. It wasn't the end of the world. She had a different perspective on it. And, her perspective was probably a little bit different from your perspective on how gut-wrenching that is. That's as that day unfolded and watching that at the end, that was the takeaway, that Harper Murray has grown up, and now is she grown enough with her teammates and this experience that they will use it to get through another year, because you'll crank it up again and the expectations will be typical Nebraska. And how do you get over the top? But yesterday, to me, again, more about Texas A&M than Nebraska. Not by a ton, but good. But give the flowers to Texas A&M, man. That was impressive.
If there was ever also too, like you brought it up, if there was ever a game where you needed Campbell Flynn, and like needed her to be there, it's unfortunate that it also has to do with like injuries and freak things that happen. But I think that like DBK and Harper kind of communicated that like, hey, we're proud of what we accomplished this season. We're proud that we went undefeated. We're proud of what we've done. We played really good volleyball. It just kind of they kind of got like it happened. They lost. They played a team that played better than them, and they, whatever the circumstances were, whether due to illness and injury, like even the people that they had out there did not play their best volleyball. Yeah. And A&M took advantage of that.
Or you could say, hey, Nebraska played pretty good. Well, Texas A&M played really good.
Yeah.
I mean, you have winners and losers in competition, and whoever is better at that moment, and Texas A&M was better with their pins. They were better with their block. They were better with their serve and receive. And they won. And that sucks. That's the part of competition. There are winners and losers, and, what do you do with it? And what a weekend, though. Man, you completely ran through the gamut. Because it was like if you had to weigh the wins and the losses of the weekend.
Sure.
And locally, there were a lot more losses than there were wins.
Yeah.
But that's why we have Nebraska basketball.
I cannot believe what you had to endure at the same time yesterday of that Nebraska volleyball game, and then the pain of Pat going down the way. And then Pat has
Disaster.
gone. Pat has, I'm sorry. I don't mean to rub it in. I don't mean to bring
you're not rubbing it in. It's just
the PTSDs of those moments. But like Pat's gone down before and he's gotten up all the time. And watching that game, it was so disappointing. And I was thinking about you. I'm like, that's one of those where you're looking at it, you're like, I don't think he's getting up. And then to parlay that with Nebraska volleyball and how you follow the team, I'm like, this is a nightmare. This is a disaster.
Rough day yesterday, man. Micah Parsons goes down.
Yeah.
Just
Puka.
Here was what his was cramps.
Yeah. Well, his cramps?
Yeah, I think his was cramps.
Okay, but Devontae went down with a hamstring.
Yeah.
And that's terrible.
Yeah, this time of the year in the NFL, it's all about survival. All right. Coming up a little bit later, Evan Bland. Saw Evan at the Devaney Center yesterday. So he was in the house, so he'll have some thoughts on that. And plus, we'll talk some football, who kind of got pushed to the back burner. Because this is a basketball school.
It is.
It is a basketball school that this morning, or sometime this afternoon when the rankings come out, Nebraska could be a top 15 men's basketball program. We are in such an upside-down world. We got Indiana as a football school with a Heisman Trophy and a number 1 seed, and Nebraska basketball is unbeaten and top 15 in men's. And in women, they're ranked and they're unbeaten as well. What is going on?
And a 5'10" point guard with the same last name as your head coach is being talked about as if he's like the best player in the Big Ten by some of the best coaches in the league.
I'll share. He was on our Average Joe Sports Show podcast yesterday. He shared a little something that he probably shouldn't about the final play of the game that led to the Jamarcus Lawrence game-winning shot. All right, lineup brought to you by the roofers at John Higgins Weather Guard. Lots to discuss. We'll do it with all of you. Your reaction from the NFL to college football. We had a bowl game, and we had more about Sharon Moore.
We had a lot about
He likes to text. You text? Also, everything. With Creighton basketball.
Tough.
Now 5-5 after losing to Kansas State. Rough weekend for Creighton basketball. The women lost yesterday as well to K-State. They tried to rally. Sports sucks. All right. But this show is a good show on 1620 The Zone. So will this be the first time since '98 that there's no Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, or Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs?
Yes. I mean,
isn't it for then if you go back even or go to Tom Brady, first time since 2010 that the AFC Championship game is not Brady or Mahomes?
So that's correct. I know that stat. That first time since '98, one of those three guys isn't in the AFC playoffs. I'm trying to think. There was because the year the year that Brady tore his ACL, that wasn't a year that wasn't a neck year for Peyton Manning, where he was.
By the way, weird stat. Did you see that stat?
What was that stat?
So in year 8, Mahomes and Brady both lost in the Super Bowl.
And in year 9, they both tear their ACL.
Yeah.
That's a crazy stat. That's wild. No, that's I love going through they always put like the AFC representative, like there's a great graphic of like the AFC representatives like since 2000.
Yeah.
And it's essentially always because Brady Manning, then you have a Roethlisberger, Brady Manning, then you have a Flacco, like just Joe sitting there, like all smiley and everything like that. And then it goes back to Brady Manning, and then you have the Mahomes era. I was reminded yesterday of one of the greatest graphics of all time, the 2017 NFL. They put all the quarterbacks who were representing the teams in the 2017 championship games. And it was Case Keenum, Blake Bortles, Nick Foles, and Tom Brady. And it was just the most random, like Keenum, Bortles, Foles. And then you have like the greatest of all time there. I bet you could never guess who ended up winning that the Super Bowl that year. It was Foles.
Yeah.
You would have thought, though, you're looking at that, like you could make an argument that was almost like LeBron's 2011 for Brady. Like that's like the closest he's gotten. Those are the three quarterbacks you were competing against, and you lost to those guys.
Yeah.
It's wild, but he'll be fine. It's I
know that the Chiefs will be fine. I'll just be very curious on the rehab. Like, will 9 months be enough to get him back for week number 1?
Yeah.
But then what will 2.0 look like? Because he likes to run. Now, he's had to run a little bit more this year because the pocket has just collapsed. And listen, Chiefs are a bad team. They were a bad team before Mahomes got injured. But, he's got some adversity here for the first time in his career where they lose in the Super Bowl. The fear factor of the Chiefs is gone. People can bully the Chiefs. They don't respect the Chiefs, and injuries caught up to them. I just look at like yesterday. That's what the Chargers tried to do, is just bully Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a nightmare of a year. It's just, injury after two straight games where an starting offensive lineman goes down in either the first or second play. Just I think it's makes me appreciate the Patriots had basically a 2-decade run.
Yeah.
The Chiefs run the last 8 years have been unbelievable. To enjoy it. And this year exposed that this is a football team with a lot of the same guys that have played 81 games in 4 years. So 81 games in 4 years.
It's one of those things too where, and I'm not blaming your GM because your GM's incredible, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm disparaging him at all or anything like that. But I think and it's right for you guys to have done this, but you got into a little bit of like luxury drafting in a way where the draft kind of became more of like, hey, we want to supplement it, but we're not necessarily getting like the building pieces you've had in the past.
What happens when you're drafting 31st?
Exactly. And so it's like when you're not really taking tackles anymore, D tackles or offensive tackles, or you're not taking like those key positions. You're drafting more wide receivers, or you're drafting running backs, or you're trading back, right? Because it just makes more sense for you to try and get as many shots at the, as you possibly can. I think that, obviously you're going to look at this roster and you're going to say, okay, like the Patriots had to go from Welker to Edelman, right? Like they had to go from Bruschi to the guys that, to the guys that helped them win, that next run of like those next offensive pieces that helped them win the Super Bowls. Like this is your transition. You're going to have to go from Kelsey to like the next guy who's going to win the Super Bowl MVP, not Kyle Pitts. Maybe Cole Kmet. You want Cole Kmet?
No. But I think first and foremost is Andy Reid has to look at his staff. Like Andy Reid has had a bad year. Like Andy Reid again had a bad day yesterday. And I think Matt Nagy is probably on the outs. They have to look at their staff. It comes at an okay time. Sometimes you need a little refresh in the middle of a run of success. I don't think it's over. I don't, maybe a little blip, but coming out the back end with Patrick Mahomes 2.0 after this injury, what are they going to look like?
Yeah.
And who is he going to trust? And because Andy Reid is not going to get fired. Would he retire? I always think that's where we're headed. But sometimes, you have to face a little adversity to learn and move on, kind of like we're talking about Nebraska volleyball. Corey tweets at the show. Last 4 volleyball seasons at least have all ended exactly the same way, crumbling under pressure. You could feel it after the first set, and needing 10 set points to finish the fourth said all you needed to know. I don't know if they're all connected. Like Texas a couple of years ago just demoralized Nebraska. Yeah. I mean, they crushed Nebraska, and Nebraska had no shot in that match. Now, last year, Penn State, reverse sweep.
Yeah. That was a crumble.
That tipping. And then yesterday, it kind of the stuff caught up to you. You lost a key reserve. Mm-hmm. You lost another key reserve right before the match, which I think, so just listening closely, and she was crying on the floor, and they had to help her off, and that's right before you start. And they don't know if she's going to be available.
And DBK saying it rattled them. Like that would rattle anybody if I saw my teammate in that much pain.
But they faced the worst case scenario, and that was the team across the net in Texas A&M. That's why I keep saying it's maybe I'm wrong on this, but Texas A&M did so many things well. It wasn't like Nebraska was just awful and Texas A&M was there for the ride, and they happened to get out of the car first. Texas A&M won that match.
Yeah.
They won that match. They are deep. They got a coach that, he told you they were going to step up to Nebraska. They weren't afraid of Nebraska. Yeah. How many people are saying that out loud and you really believe it? I think he says it out loud and his players go, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And they did. They had, I'm going to be honest with you, Gary, I got scared of Texas A&M when some of those players had some smug looks on their faces. They had some smiles. They had those confident grins. They had those. They were not afraid to look all those All-Americans and the Big Ten Player of the Year in the eyes and be like, we don't care that you're the story. Yeah. We don't care that you're undefeated. We don't care that you're becoming the UConn women's basketball volleyball. Like, we are here to win. We're not going to roll over to you. And they weren't afraid of them at all. I mean, they put on a hell of a performance. And, it was a terrible storm of Nebraska in terms of the injuries and the freak accident. But then
Andy Jackson not playing well.
Yes, and then Texas A&M, they got an inch and they took a mile. And that 10-0 run in the first set, like that kind of, like I was saying before, Texas A&M walked onto the court believing they could win that game, win that match. But then after that 10-0 run, it was almost like the confirmation of like, oh no, it's not just belief, it's reality. And they did it.
And the story this morning would have been if Nebraska would have rallied in the fifth. First of all, you would have talked about what one of the best sporting events ever. And some may talk about it. If you were there in person, I mean, that was insane. The fourth set, insane. I'm seeing a lot of videos, and you were saying you had friends reach out to you. I had a couple of texts from people I know don't normally watch volleyball, but it was Sunday. It was on ABC, so they watched it. Is you would talk about the Bergen-Riley flu game, because even though she was about as pale as the floor and her jersey, I mean, she had a hell of a day.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Texas A&M is moving on. Now you got a weird Final Four. Kentucky is the highest remaining seed.
Yeah, and they're the only one, right? Because Wisconsin was a 3, and then A&M was a 3. And then Pitt was a 2.
Yeah, so you have Texas A&M and Pitt, and then Kentucky and Wisconsin are the Final Four in Kansas City, where the hoteliers are like, okay, seem to be a lot of cancellations from the 402.
Let me look at the what the tickets are right now, because I saw a tweet.
Well, I think it's perfect for like locals. I think there still will be, because we've seen this before when Nebraska hasn't made the Final Four and it's within driving distance. Mm-hmm. People have already made plans. Now, they might be quicker to cancel because you could drive to Kansas City in 3 hours, but I still think there will be a lot of Nebraska fans that will be there because they love volleyball.
Sure.
Will they stay until Sunday? That's the question. You'll go down on Thursday. you'll watch 2 matches, you'll come home.
Yeah.
Instead of staying for a couple of extra days because your team is not there. Now, there will be some that are not going, that we're thinking about going, but I don't think it'll be like the place will be empty because Nebraska's not there. No. If I was the locals there and I was selling tickets, I'd make a big push for all the club teams, either to get, them in the building, because the tickets will be available.
Well,
what are the
so if you want good seats, like section 117 is $871.
Like that on the floor?
That's close to the floor. That's close to it, not on it. That's like in the lower bowl. If you want to just get into the building, it's 122. And then like kind of the farther back, like 209, section 209, which is like on the which I just call it the 50-yard line. That's like 254. It's kind of expensive. Tickets are expensive nowadays. Every event that I look to go to is expensive. You're laughing over there because you know what event I was looking at going to yesterday.
Yes. Don't touch the money. If you want to look at something that has become expensive, look at January 2nd at PBA.
Oh, God.
Nebraska, Michigan State basketball. Yes, we will talk hoops. Nebraska basketball, men and women unbeaten, and the men go into Champaign, and they do Champaign things.
Champaign problem.
Champaign supernova. Hour number 2 is coming up a little bit later. Evan Bland, thoughts on what he witnessed yesterday at the Devaney Center. Also, we'll dive into some football. Kyle Whittingham did everybody a favor by announcing that's it on New Year's Eve at the Vegas Bowl. Utah already a big favorite, and their beloved head coach says, I'm out. Yeah. All right. But it's a great it's the portal game for Nebraska. It's like a spring game.
It is.
You'll get to see everybody on the roster coming up on New Year's Eve. Stay tuned on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome in. Hour number 2, the conflicted emotions of sports. For some, there were moments this weekend that would fit into your top 10 event watched or endings. But that's why we do sports. And that's sometimes when we're watching sports, we say, I'm going to pass out. As Ken Pavelka. What a call at the end of the Nebraska game. If you listen to both the Nebraska and Illinois call,
I have, yeah.
Emotion's a little bit different on both sides. Do you think, here, I asked this, might be a leading question. Do you think 1620 the J can handle the team in Lincoln in the NCAA tournament and the team downtown in the NIT?
No. If you're referring to 1620 the J as our colleagues in the afternoon and the midday, no, not at all. And the victory laps that are going to be taken by people if that were to occur.
Don't touch the money. It's early.
I'm not touching the money.
I'm not touching the money. I just wonder, are we going to be able to have a normal radio station if that is the case and a normal conversation around here? Now, there's still plenty of basketball to play, but Creighton is in a league where you are not getting help and you've not helped yourself.
No.
And your one nice resume win isn't necessarily aging really well. So you're going to have to make one heck of a run in the Big East. Now, the Big East is outside of the top 2, is wide open. But how many teams is the Big East going to get in the NCAA tournament if you, as an at-large?
Probably just those 2, maybe 3, right? But now I haven't been fully following, but Butler's had a pretty good. Wasn't Butler have a pretty good start to the year?
And they had a crazy game against Providence the other day, but they've lost their point guard for the season. Injuries suck.
They do suck.
Injuries are awful. They just suck. They do. They suck the soul and joy out of sports.
They do.
And Creighton is dealing with a major one. Jackson McAndrew, of course, would be that team would look different.
Yeah.
Hudson Greer definitely would look different. Omaha is without their big man, Isaac Anakane, which, and that happens before the season. And then you get Patrick Mahomes and Micah Parsons go down. And it just for the Chiefs weren't going to go to the Super Bowl. Packers still had a chance. Now one injury, even though again they're a 2.5-point favorite at Soldier Field.
Yeah.
It sucks the soul out of your sports fandom, and I hate it. I hate the injuries. And you're either going to get really lucky, and you get on this run where you have a lot of luck with injuries, or you just can't avoid them. Or you find a way to work through them, like the San Francisco 49ers.
And the famous line from Lucian Lauren, who's the Secretariat's trainer, was when Secretary was about to win the Triple Crown, and he screamed out, Ronnie Turcotte, the jockey, goes, Ronnie, don't fall off, right? It's one of those, it's a great line. It's a great moment because it's it shows his skepticism, right? But I find myself feeling that way about teams that go on magical runs, where it's one of the worst feelings where you're like, okay, this is awesome. This is great. They're performing at a level you didn't expect. Now don't get hurt. Yeah. Like nobody get injured. Like Sam, don't go down. Rink, don't go down. That is one of the, because you just can't help yourself but think the only way that this season will be derailed and you're not going to accomplish the things you can is if injuries happen.
Now they've had an injury, but they are built to overcome it with the siege and being on the sidelines as your videographer.
Well, but also too, that also adds to it though, Gary, where it's they were built to sustain an injury. I don't know if they're built to sustain two injuries.
Another one, they would be
and it's danger. And it's one of those things too, when you talking about fans and injuries, it's you're helpless. You're helpless. There's nothing I can do to stop any of the players that I enjoy watching from getting hurt. And there's really at some points nothing they can really do to stop them from getting hurt. Injuries suck.
Well, the week was great for Fred Hoiberg. But the final play on Saturday in Champaign, in a game in which Nebraska gets off to a hot start, they have Mr. Papa-Shot. He's hitting shots. The thing about this team, and we've now talked about it, is people are over football and now they're starting to watch more and more basketball, is they are so connected. You could begin a game where Sanford is hot, and I mean red hot, but then they figured him out. All of a sudden, Jared Garcia, weren't really familiar with your game until the last week. And all of a sudden, Jared Garcia, who I think is going to be pretty important in the Big Ten because of his size, all of a sudden he shows up Okay. And then at the end of the game, a guy who probably not necessarily the guy to take the shot hits the shot, and you win a basketball game, and you're like, oh, beginning, middle, end, all three different players on a team that is different, and they are built for everybody to have a hand in it once again. But the final play, you might have heard this. We were talking to Sam Hoiberg yesterday. Sam went the wrong way.
Yeah.
So Sam was supposed to go left on the final play, and it was going to be a kick out to Sanford.
Yeah.
He went right. And so the other part of the final play is Sam was telling us, so he drives to the basket, and the defense collapses on him, and he just kind of throws it back behind him.
Yeah.
And it was a bad pass. It actually makes the Jamarcus Lawrence shot even more impressive because he had to jump to catch the pass and then hit the shot.
Yeah.
So it is quite a thing of beauty. It is a very cinematic thing. But yeah, Sam went the wrong way. But that's when you're on a heater. Well, though you could go the wrong way, make a bad play, but somehow the basketball gods are shining down on GBR, and you hit a three and you win in Champaign when people are like, what just happened?
You guys in the Average Joe Sports Show had a 20-minute interview with him, and it was great. And it was really funny too. Like Bill Dolman asked, Sam, hey, what was your dad's reaction to it when you and he goes, well, first off, he didn't say anything to me, right? He didn't tell me, hey, you went the wrong way. And then Sam told Fred, he was like, hey, my bad for going the wrong way. And then what did Fred say to him? He goes, yeah, we won't tell anybody. We won't let anyone know. And then, of course, Sam, because he's awesome, goes on and reveals, which, by the way, it was very nice of him to be like, it was a bad pass and I went the wrong way. Still a hell of a play. He still cuts to the basket. Honestly, in the moment, I wanted Sam to shoot the ball. I was like, because also too, people forget the play before that when they needed to score. He was the one initiating the action on that point too. He was their go-to ball handler at the end of the game, had some big rebounds. I mean, the Jared Garcia tip-in, I mean, that was all off of just Sam hustling and getting that rebound. And then, he smokes the layup, but Jared picks it up. He was awesome at the end of that end of the game. And then it was funny. You talk about Jared Garcia.
Then there was another awesome moment after the shot was hit.
Which was what? Kent's call?
Well, Kent's call was a standalone. Did you see what Frager did? Oh, so the student section in Champaign is really, really good. And they have them in the perfect spot.
They do.
Them in the Izzo zone are great student sections. And did you see what Frager did at the end of the game where everybody was celebrating at midcourt?
No, what did Frager do?
So there is a student who has the middle finger out, very much a white guy move, and he sticks it in the face of Frager. And as Frager, who can run his mouth and probably is a little immature, but he runs it, slaps his finger away.
Nice.
As he walks away.
There was also Ivasic pushed Frager at the very end when they were walking off of the court.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think Frager is going to become one of those guys that everybody in the Big Ten hates. He's like the Brad Davison and Aaron Kraft of Nebraska basketball, which Nebraska really hasn't had many of those guys.
Doesn't he look like that too? He's skinny, he's white,
he's got wispy hair,
he's got the goatee. He looks like the stereotypical. I can't stand that. You do need that guy.
Everybody needs a dickhead. Okay, that's the bottom line.
You do.
That we should learn from this is that in your life you need a dickhead, and you need on a team you need that one guy that everybody can't stand. Okay, they have to be somewhat of a good player. But they're the guy that you bring in that agitates everybody else. And they take the attention away from other things that are going on.
Yeah.
And so you get in the head of the other team. And so they're rattled by you and they lose focus. Like Frager, and Frager is a good player.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to grow up a little bit because it's going to come back to bite him. But he's that one guy that Nebraska has been searching for that is good, but also runs it.
Yeah.
And he's perfect on this roster.
He is.
Because it almost seems like they have a bunch of those, but they're not as open as Frager is.
No. And also this team has so many likable guys as well, where you're you kind of do need the contrast. I think that should be when you write a book, that should be the title of your book. Everybody needs a dickhead. You need it in the family. You need it in the friend group. You need it in the office. You need it on a sports team.
Usually it's that middle child.
It is. It is typically. Who is also in the friend group, probably. First off, if you're a dickhead in one spot, you're a dickhead in all the other spots. Like, you really are. Or you could write a book, Sports Greatest Dickheads. And like, that would be, that's another great one. Chapter 1, Draymond Green. Like, that would be, but he's a 4-time NBA champion. Chapter number 2, Bill Laimbeer, 2-time NBA champion. Like, probably chapter number 3 would be Mike Vrabel. Like, that'd be, and he's champion, one of the best. Like, everybody needs that. He does look.
Everybody
like
needs a
wispy hair, goatee.
Yeah. Everybody needs a Richard head, and then they need like a Mendoza, like a guy that's a winner that is quirky and is kind of dorky. That's the great combination right there.
Aren't you just describing Urban Meyer's Florida football teams? Like, you just have a lot of.
I think when you're a criminal, you're not. Well, you can be a knucklehead.
I mean, okay, I don't mean like criminals, but I mean like
they had a guy that was a murderer on the roster.
I'm aware, but they just had a lot of guys who weren't great dudes, and who were they led by? Tim Tebow, who is like.
Well, okay, then you need the religious. I'd take him home to mama.
Exactly. That's what Fernando is. And then you have, the funny thing is that the richer head on Indiana isn't one of their players, it's their head coach.
Yeah, but I think Mendoza makes Cignetti likable.
I think Mendoza makes everybody likable.
By the way, we live in a world where Indiana football last night was featured on 60 Minutes.
I did see that.
This whole thing is upside down. We also live in a world where I'm very honored this past weekend. Oh, this was part of everything else that went on this weekend. I was, and I think I'm going to frame it.
Whoa.
I was called out by a college football player this weekend.
Who called you? Wait, where did this happen?
I was called out.
How did I miss this?
Well, there's a lot of us.
Oh, okay.
The guy that showed up with his brothers at the Heisman Trophy ceremony, like he was going to a UFC fight, okay? Like he was straight out of West Side Story. I feel like it a badge of honor, because I did not have him number 1 on my ballot, that I was told to F off by Diego Pavia.
You were.
I've been lucky enough to vote for the Heisman Trophy for multiple years now. I have never been told this, but you know what? I'm cool. And what I'm not cool about is somebody got to him yesterday. So either his agents, a PR firm, they had him apologize. Now, he doesn't care what you think of him, and he's going to do what he wants to do. I now think less of him that he apologized, because he needs, first of all, he's the Dollar Tree Manziel.
He's Diego Manziel.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's trying to be that, but you got to read the room. People like Mendoza. Okay. So he's a likable guy. Yeah, so when
Indiana's
you pull that,
likable.
But I get it. You don't care what other people think. So don't apologize. Hey, if you F all the voters, F Indiana, you know what? Stick with it. Okay. Just ride it out. That's fine. That's who you are. That's on brand.
Sure.
Your brand is not apologizing. You haven't apologized. But I feel, after not voting for him, but yes, he was in my top 3. I'm like, okay, all right. I have been seen.
I like that you love that. It's funny. So here's the asinine question of the day. How much do you think the apology has to do with Shedeur Sanders?
What do you mean?
Because of kind of part of the reason why Shedeur, and not part of the reason why Shedeur went from being like a back half, round 1, round 2 quarterback prospect to falling all the way to the 5th round and having everything that's happened to him was because there was a belief that there would be this media circus right around him and that it would be a big distraction. And I wonder if his PR team kind of looked at Shedeur falling down the draft boards because NFL teams made it clear that they don't want this whole media circus around a guy that isn't the best draft prospect. Diego Pavia is not the best draft prospect from a measurable perspective, from a quarterback perspective.
Even on draft boards?
If he is, he's in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. Like, so I wonder how much.
Well, I don't think he's going to leave college.
Well, he's 25 years old. He's been in college forever.
Doesn't he have a petition to get another year at Vanderbilt?
That'd be crazy. That'd be so dumb. The system would be broken. I mean, if he were to get another year at that point, eligibility wouldn't exist. It would just be so dumb.
So we're curious what Vanderbilt does, because they promoted him, and hey, he has elevated their program. There's no doubt. He's given them an identity. The Iowa Vanderbilt game is kind of interesting now. Does Vanderbilt shy away from promoting him?
No, God,
after this?
No.
I don't know who he thought, like, you got to read the room. Who would be on his side and go, you're right, you should have won the Heisman. Here's the deal. The bottom line with the Heisman is the field was not great compared to the beginning of the year. And we're going to do this again because the 26 field is absolutely loaded.
It is.
Loaded for potential Heisman Trophy winners. I think the final total, because Mendoza ran away with it, says more about the other people in the Heisman field than Mendoza having this great year. Because he didn't have like this, oh my God, jaw-dropping year. So it's okay. Stay on brand. Okay. You and the fellas show
Embrace
up. You forgot you were going to the Heisman. You thought you were going to see Dana White. You know what? Just, hey, rocking the turtleneck
and the double chain.
Just that's who you are.
And
that's what's helped Vanderbilt because they got some swag and the kid's a winner.
He is.
But don't apologize. Don't take that back. Hey, you drop an F-bomb on me, I accept it. Let's stick with it.
I do think, like, look, eventually the guy's got to graduate, okay? Like, eventually.
I don't think he will. He keeps suing the NCAA.
Eventually, he's got to close the yearbook, and he's got to move on. And I don't think that a guy who, okay, so I went to my mock draft database. You want to guess where he's at? Undrafted.
Yeah.
Okay. So a guy who essentially is going to go undrafted because of his measurables and his age and everything, like, you don't want to be caught in a video of at a club, with the F Indiana sign being, hovered up and down with you drinking. Now, granted, some of the better looking women I've seen in quite some time, but I don't know if that's exactly like the picture you want to give to teams that aren't even going to draft you. They're going to have to sign you. They're going to have to voluntarily say, hey, we want you on our team. And then did you see I don't know if you did, I saw it on Instagram where they had him do like hey, let's do a bracket of the greatest college football players of all time, right? And Diego just kind of picks who he thought was better. Do you know who won his bracket?
Him.
Johnny Manziel. Well, first off, his answer was me.
Yeah.
He goes, we're going to do this. The person says, we're going to do the greatest college football player of all time. And he goes, me. And they're like, no, dummy. We're going to have you pick between two guys. And then Manziel won, which was the least shocking thing ever. So you're right. Walmart Manziel, Target Manziel, Dollar Store Manziel. Call him what you want him. Had a hell of a year, though, for Vanderbilt, who went 10-2.
Yeah, he came along at the right time for Vanderbilt. He elevated the program.
He helped Clark Lee out.
He was a winner. He gives him some swag. He kind of backs it up. And I'm disappointed that he apologized. You got to stay on brand, man, because no one is believing the apology. Because they have the same reaction I do is, who got to you? Okay, you didn't do it on your own. Okay, who got to you? Because you probably like, I really have to do. And he may not know that he apologized. He may not know that he apologized.
I wouldn't put it past him. I really wouldn't. Do you think that there are people, how many famous people like go on to Twitter and like, oh, I didn't know that I gave an apology, or I didn't know that like I did this wrong? That probably happens way more than you think.
So that's
why
it
might happen with people in current offices in the United States.
That's why you have good MediaCom people that will put out press releases and they will quote coaches, and the coaches never see the quote. It's a really either a Chat GPT or you have a good, person in the media department that knows great quotes, and the coach will be like reading the release and they're like, okay, I like that. That's cool.
No, we learned that. We literally learned that in school. We had a communications class and they go, be honest with you guys, a lot of these quotes that are in these releases, we just make them up.
Oh yeah.
And then we're just like, and we sometimes we'll send the coaches and be like, hey, are you cool with this? Sometimes we'll just put it in there because it's just so cliche.
This is what you're going to say, coach.
Well, which is why, like, when Carissa Thompson said what she said all those years ago about like, sometimes I just make up what people say, like on the sideline. There are a lot of media people who, like, there were fans who freaked out, but there are a lot of media people who are like, yeah, it kind of happens more times than people think.
That might be a little different, though.
She shouldn't have admitted it.
Yeah,
she should not have admitted that.
Yeah,
and
that's not a press release or PR. That's in like real time.
It is
reporting.
it is different, but I'm just saying it just happens where it's just like there are quotes and it doesn't come from people.
All right, we'll talk more about Nebraska basketball because this morning they could be, 14th, 15th in the polls. Lots of season to go, but they're in the top 20 in KenPom. They're in the net rankings top 15. They're 11-0 with a chance to be 13-0 before January 2nd. Get your tickets now at PBA because the prices are going up for Nebraska, Michigan State. Going to be one of the rare times that Nebraska and Michigan State are going to be ranked close to each other when they meet on January 2nd. But are the expectations, have you changed them? If you want to touch the money, Ken Palm says 24-7, 13-7 in the league.
Whoa.
Are you changing from just make the tournament, just let Ken have one win, to second weekend? We'll discuss as we roll till 10. Evan Bland joins us coming up at 8:30 on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in. We wish a warm and joyful Hanukkah to all who celebrate. Unfortunately, the first night of Hanukkah with tragedy out of Sydney, Australia. So thinking of everybody, but wishing you a warm and joyful Hanukkah, which has begun. All right, welcome back into Gary and Matt. Jimmy is here as well. Clint texts. Now, Clint's a Duke fan.
Okay.
He said, my feelings haven't changed about Nebraska basketball. Can you feel it? I appreciate them winning, but hold no hope for tournament play unless they do it. Nebraska basketball is the Lucy to the fans, Charlie Brown. Now, I got a request here.
Yeah, go ahead.
About Nebraska basketball.
Yeah.
Okay. They're 11-0. 11-0 is 11-0.
It is.
People don't know this, but they just went through a week where they beat Creighton, Wisconsin, and on the road, Illinois.
You said that to Sam in your interview, and I even had to take a step back and be like, holy crap. Like they did beat. Now, maybe some of those teams aren't as great as what they've been in the past, right? But I had to take a step back. I'm like, that's what the hell? Like that's got to go down as one of the best weeks in terms of name brand wins in maybe Nebraska basketball history.
And they stayed on, they had their same identity all three games. I think, we have fun with the exciting whites because there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them.
But sometimes smart beats athleticism. Because look at Saturday in Champaign. The Steels were 6-2, and Nebraska got beat on the boards.
Yeah.
They got beat on the offensive glass, but they made smart plays when they had to make smart plays. They took smart shots. There weren't a ton of shots where you're like, what are you doing? Even my guy.
He took one. He only took one.
Yeah, I mean,
the whole game.
So sometimes, they are going to run into, Michigan State, Michigan, and Purdue are juggernauts. Michigan is scary. Michigan, not only national championship worthy, but they might have the national player of the year. So those three teams are separating themselves in the Big Ten. And those are going to be challenges. And this year you only play Michigan once. But sometimes I think just being a smart basketball team that's connected and hey, we got to get a paint touch every time down the floor.
Yeah.
We got to get everybody connected where maybe everybody on the floor touches the ball before we take a shot. But everybody's cutting. They're doing their job. They're not standing around and okay, end of the shot clock. Rink, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do,
Rink?
Rink?
That doesn't happen a lot.
Is sometimes smart can beat athleticism because there are teams that probably look at Nebraska and go, really, Hoiberg?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Are you ever going to grow up? Okay. You're a little scrawny kid. Okay. They look at Frager, who Joey has labeled white boy Rick. And they go, we're going to mow you down.
Yeah.
And then all smartness beats supreme athleticism. Now, I don't think Illinois is supreme, but they're longer.
They're so big.
Yes.
They were massive.
Yeah.
But do you know what was incredible? Nate Lenzer, what a defensive.
He had a great week.
He had a great week. But what a defensive coach that goes, because I think Illinois was thinking there's no way they're going to switch on everything.
Yeah.
There's no way. They have to do some hedging stuff. They got to do a different type of offense here. And I think it caught Illinois off guard that Lesnar was like, no, we are going to switch. We are going to put 5'9" for Sam Hoiberg on 7'1" Ivisic. And we're going to tempt you here to throw the ball in because we know that our help defense is so elite that double is going to come from the weak side immediately. And Ivisic he's going to be panicked because he doesn't know how to handle the ball under pressure. And that happened multiple times where he either took bad shots or he had to pass it back out. And then they're so good at rotating back around on the defensive end. Underwood said it. Pretty sure Guard said it. They're just connected. They are 5 as one. They just know what they're doing. They know how to play with each other in the offensive end. They know how to play with each other in the defensive end.
Isn't it interesting a theme here? So this is kind of a theme surrounding our locals.
Yeah.
Get old, stay old.
Yeah.
So Nebraska basketball is an old team.
They are.
Texas A&M volleyball, old team. Now you think, wow, Nebraska football is about to enter a flip where they become one of the younger teams to one of the older teams. Get old, stay old. Here's my only request about Nebraska football when it comes to Nebraska basketball. So you're looking up prices for January 2nd.
I am.
If you have not tried to get tickets, you better start because January 2nd, Michigan State is at Nebraska. It's a Friday night. Now the students are away, but Nebraska actually has some of their bigger victories of late when the students have been gone.
Yes, Purdue came when the students were gone. You're absolutely right.
You get either students they can buy tickets, or you get a bunch of new fans that are sitting in places they don't normally get to sit.
Yeah.
So they're crazy, man.
Yeah.
They just, who cares? They're like, this is the only game we go to. We got great seats. Students are on vacation. I'm right there on the floor.
Yeah.
I can smell Hoiberg. All right. January 2nd. This is all I have. Because there's Nebraska football plays New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Okay. They play in Vegas.
They do.
There's going to be on January 1st or January 2nd, there's going to be Instagram posts. There's going to be very emotional, thanking Husker Nation, thanking Matt Rule, thanking everybody.
Oh, I know
but my heart tells me that I should pursue other opportunities. And with that said, God told me to do this. I'm going into the portal. Can you just wait until January 3rd? Okay. If you're going to go into the portal, can you not do it on the first day? Can Nebraska not add anybody on the first day? Can we just leave January 2nd to Nebraska, Michigan State? When you're hitting refresh to see if Nebraska is ever going to hire a defensive line coach or who's coming or going, can we wait until Saturday? Because January 2nd, that's just a simple request.
That's a good point.
January 2nd is a bigger day for Nebraska men's basketball than it is football. That's how upside down things currently are in Lincoln.
So first off, real quick, when we write our messages here, I've been so blessed to be a part. Remember here, a space part. Just throwing it out there if you're transferring the portal. Secondly, absolutely, you're joking, but you're right. Like, let's just say hypothetically, I'm just going to throw it out. That's just a hypothetical. I don't know anything, okay? But if Dylan were to enter the transfer portal on January 2nd, you don't think the buzz around the building, like at PBA, would be a little, like it'd be a little in the pregame would be a little bit different. In the halftime, right? You'd probably go ahead and like say something. It would be a little off because that'd be a very, very big deal. So you're correct in that regard.
All glory to God.
All glory to God. Want to thank all my coaches. Want to thank Husker Nation. Want to thank all the nations. They beat UCLA last year when the students were away. Yeah. They beat Purdue last year or 2 years ago when the students were away. They beat it was in the Minnesota game, like in overtime. Now I think that was on the road, I think, actually. So I don't know if my sophomore year they ended up winning any big games like that when the students were away. But that is funny that I've never thought about that, but that has happened. Where it's like
because the immediate reaction is, oh, students aren't there. Oh, it's going to be a sleepy crowd. Usually they're kind of raucous because you get a bunch of new people that don't normally go to games. They have access to tickets. They sit close to the floor, and they're like, you know what? You see it sometimes in like the lesser marquee games for football.
Yeah,
where that's your only opportunity because the tickets are relatively cheap.
Yeah,
you get in, you lose your mind, and they're like, the person next to you goes, you know, this is Houston Christian. And you're like, I'm standing the entire game.
It doesn't matter.
I don't care what you say.
Well, I think it's funny that you might be right in the fact that you only go to one Nebraska basketball game, so you're willing to like shell out the cash in order to do it. Look, I'm not disparaging the Nebraska student section at all. Okay, it's a fine student section. It's a good student section. It's not on the level of the Crazies or the Orange Crush or the I forget, I don't know what they call Purdue student section at Mackey. But it's not at that level. Mm-hmm. But I would argue that like the grown adults at Nebraska basketball games are some of the rowdiest and best fans in terms of like if you're just comparing them to other grown adults across the country. Because there are some times where you'll be watching these college basketball games and it's like the student section is very rowdy, and then you could tell everybody else who's got like wives and kids and husbands and everything like that. The Nebraska basketball, you can't. Everybody's unglued. Everybody's unhinged. Everybody's excited to be there. Everybody's rocking, dude. The amount of time, like how many times if you're watching because you go to the games on a broadcast, there's so many different times where the announcers go, man, if they made that, this place would have come unglued, which just like goes to show you how everybody just wants to become unglued all the time at PBA, which is awesome.
Just wait until January 3rd. Let Nebraska basketball have their moment on January 2nd.
They have to get to the portal as quickly as possible. Like it's probably not as advantageous.
There's going to be
them to wait.
I mean, the portal bowl game. There's already guys that are going into the portal that are going to play in Nebraska's bowl game.
You got to think though that what do you think will be like the quickest we get a portal announcement? Like, do you think like Nebraska will play a football game at 2:30 on January 31st, and at 9 p.m. on January 31st we'll get guys entering the portal like as soon as they touch back down in Lincoln? That'd be wild. I would have a little bit of decorum. Give it like a day, and then like January 1, and then you're like, all right, now I'm in the portal.
Are you surprised that there's only 2 so far publicly? 2 that have decided to go into the portal and will not go through bowl game prep.
Yes.
Surprised, good or bad? Caden Vermas and Jamarian Parker.
Surprised in a good way, because I thought there would be more guys in the portal. I thought after your defensive coordinator just went to the podium and said, hey, we have to get better guys, and your coach has been incredibly vocal about the fact that they have a lot of money to go and get other guys who aren't on your team, that there would be more dudes who are jockeying to be one of the first ones in the portal and to like their agents are already reaching out.
I don't know. It's tryout season in Lincoln.
Well,
I imagine there will be a lot of guys that will play against Utah.
If on the O-line, I would on the
O-line.
I
think offense.
You think
now
offense too?
more on defense.
So that's
but
what
offense and defense. I think there will be a lot of guys that will play. This is like a spring game where you'll have to buy a program to figure out, hey, that guy didn't play very much. I thought you don't have to worry about redshirt. Well, they want to get a look at guys.
Sure.
I mean, we've shifted where the bowl practices are more important than the game. But the game, and I might be trying to help Vegas out here by selling this. I think you'll see a lot of guys play, and you'll go, why? Well, because they're trying to figure out their roster.
And by the way, it should be that way. That should be the attitude.
Yeah.
You're a team that went 7-5. Okay, you can't trot out the same exact team against Utah and what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same things over and over again. You have to find answers. You have to find different sums to the puzzle.
All right, let's talk to Nate here before the break. Good morning, Nate.
Brother, good morning. Great analysis on the bowl game. It's kind of spring training baseball, and half the guys are not going to make the team. I think that was a good analogy. So I got a question for you, because I'm truth be told, I'm actually more of a Nebraska basketball fan than I am a football fan. I grew up with dad's press passes like as a child, so I was always around Farmer and Strickland and everybody. That's kind of me, right? And I'm just wondering about the PBA crowd conversation you're having. Now, I understand you have some acoustical differences between Devaney and PBA, but I've been to PBA. I was on the floor for the Purdue upset 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That is not loud versus a random mid-season game against Oklahoma in Devaney. And I think part of it is the student section at the Devaney Center was insane. Like it was wild. It was out of control. And yet these kids just want to wear goofy striped overalls and play white striped songs all day. And I don't understand. I don't understand how the student section lost that. I do believe, like, as crazy and canceled as he is, I think part of it was the lack of Gary Glitter. I mean, like, Sharp, you'll remember this, but I mean, like, the whole "we're gonna beat the," I mean, like, this was crazy. There's no sit down Norm, no sit down Royce, sit down Billy. I mean, I got tossed out of a game as an 8-year-old for screaming horrible things at Billy Tubbs, and I'm not kidding you. Keith and McCann was like, no, he's with me. Otherwise, and my dad's probably getting canned. Like, it was nuts down there. And I don't know why. Like, PBA feels too much like an NBA arena. I think in trying to be like an NBA arena, they've developed a culture of an NBA arena. And NBA arenas are boring. I've been to like most of them, even in big games. NBA is a crappy game day environment.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing. You remember until the end at the Devaney Center, and where the students sat, you were on bleachers. There were a lot of planks inside of the Devaney Center, and they would have the students, the Dead Dog Alley, right behind the baskets. Okay. So you were close to the bench. And even if you sat on the side, you were like right on top. You're a little bit removed because, like, from the benches to where the student section is, there's a little space there. You got the baseline seats, you got the end line seats. So I don't know. Sometimes PBA is probably louder in person than it comes across on the TV.
True.
But when there's a moment, that place gets loud. It gets loud. It's not as loud continuously like the Devaney Center, because I think the acoustics are completely different.
Yeah.
But I do believe, and Nate, thanks for the phone call. We got to get to a break. The students and their location do make a difference.
Oh, big time.
That's why I wondered, like, watching Creighton down in Lexington in volleyball, they're so far removed from the floor.
Yeah.
They're a long way away from the floor. The one thing about the Devaney Center for volleyball is you're right on top of the floor.
Yes.
Unless you're sitting on the end lines. And I inquired. Those are really expensive, and those seats don't open up.
Yeah.
Just kind of, can you not? I know you don't want to poll what the students at Indiana were doing, but can you not just stand up and kind of like
get more into it a little bit?
That's why I couldn't sit there.
So
I'd be chirping. But when there are moments, just like any venue, when it's a big game, people answer the call. And it's on the players on the floor to keep it going, or bad calls.
And you're right. It's big game feelings, and I think when it's a big game, the student section steps up. But in terms of like what the Devaney Center was and what PBA is, there's also a difference in generations. Okay, like it's my generation. Yeah. We're not as crazy as you guys are. We're not as raucous as you guys are. We're not as like swearing and like in this.
Now, we never swore. I do have my moment in the student section for Nebraska basketball.
But your moment, you get kicked out.
I didn't get kicked out.
Oh, okay.
But I got a laugh and I got a bunch of high fives.
Nice.
So, but Melvin Booker played at Missouri.
Yeah.
This was first year. Yeah, 94. He had come off a hernia surgery.
Okay.
So he goes to the free throw line.
What'd you say?
And I was like, turn your head and cough. Turn your head and cough.
That's a good one.
And I got a ire from, I think it was Doug Smith. I think Doug Smith was on that really good Mizzou team.
Sure.
Yeah, that gave me the stink eye into the student section. I didn't stand up to do it. But people are like, oh, the fat kid, he's really funny. He made it funny.
Also, everybody gets canceled nowadays and everybody's on social media. And so, like, I do think there's a part of, like, just kids are just afraid of getting canceled and have been. And also, too, when we were in high school, we would try and get crazy and our parents would yell at us and our principals would scream at us. And so just student sections in general, because there's been so much policing of it, have, like, gone down, at least in PBA in terms of intensity. I'll say this, though. I thought the beer would make them rowdier. Now that you can like buy beers as a student and go and drink them in the student section, I thought it would make it rowdier. It kind of has a little bit. The rowdiness is amped up just slightly now that you can crush a couple Michelobes during the game and in the pregame. But the cups are too big. They're really big beers, and so it's like, I don't know. It's like you're cheering, but it's hard to like cheer because you're afraid you're going to spill everywhere.
Drink your beer
so
then.
Big, and it's like they don't give you cans, and so it's just like. It's kind of hard to balance the cheering and yelling while also I got to crush this 22-ounce beer. It's kind of, and then you're double fisting. It gets awkward. And the cup holders aren't great in the student section either. And you don't want to put it on the ground because then you're going to tip it over and you're going to spill it on the AF that, you want to talk to. So you don't, it's a balance.
All right. Evan Bland's coming up in the next hour. He was at Devaney yesterday. The disappointment of Nebraska coming up short, not making it to Kansas City, 33-1. And Danny Busboom Kelly's first year, no Nebraska in the Final Four. But there is a team from the Big Ten. It's Wisconsin, Pittsburgh, Kentucky, Texas A&M. It'll be a busy weekend for Trev Alberts, huh?
Yeah, very.
Evan's coming up at 8:30 on 1620 The Zone. Hey, go to that website. There's a great content up there. You can catch all the shows, what we're doing at 1620thezone.com. And if you go there right now, you can enter to win a 4-pack of passes to the AEW Dynamite New Year's Smash over in Ralston, Liberty First Credit Union. New Year's Eve, go to 1620thezone.com, and you can be a winner. Here is a winner on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline, Randy. Hello, Randy.
I'm a winner? Awesome. No, I'm just kidding. No, the reason I was calling is the spring games basically going away as the most part is what they are. I think all these bowl games with the portal date that they set it at, this is the new spring game for every team almost. This is with as many people that check out or don't want to play as they enter the portal before the game. You know, it's a good way for the coaches to just evaluate us as what they got left coming in for the next year. So,
yeah, I think you'll see some guys you probably haven't seen an abundance of in the spring on the bowl game. I don't think they'll go over the top. Like they're still going to be in it to win, but I think they'll probably put some guys in situations where they get to see them that they didn't get to see them during the regular season, and whether they're on the fringe of leaving or staying, they'll at least know where they stand and where the roster stands that they can make decisions.
This would be a perfect place for if Latif is questionable. Let's see what Davila's got for us. So see what we got in the roster. So.
Randy, thanks for the phone call. I shudder to think if TJ Latif, who is trending towards being available to play, if he does not play in that game, but regardless of who plays at quarterback, Nebraska needs a portal quarterback.
Yes, they do. They need.
Now, what is the level of that portal quarterback will tell you how much they believe in Dylan or TJ or whoever is the quarterback in 26.
I agree with you, because I think if it's in a perfect world, you keep both TJ and Dylan, right? I just don't think that's incredibly realistic, to be quite frank with you. It'd be a lot of money to lock up in that one position where they clearly have needs elsewhere. I wouldn't mind it, right? I just think it'd be a tough proposition. I think if it's Dylan, I think you need to go and get a veteran. This is just my opinion. If it's Dylan, who is your quarterback next year, you go and get a veteran quarterback that you can trust as a backup. If Dylan were to get hurt, that you can throw in and say, hey, he could play. We could trust him. And a guy who could push Dylan. Like a guy who could potentially, hey, if he takes strides and has this new coaching and sees different things, maybe he can compete for the starting job, right? If it's TJ, I think you gotta really take a look in the mirror and what you have and say, do we fully believe in TJ Latif's ability to be a good starting quarterback in the Big Ten? And if you have a second of doubt, if you have a shroud of doubt, a second of trepidation, I think you go out and you get a high-level quarterback.
Yeah, so I think if TJ is your guy, you need to get out of the portal someone who is similar to TJ in terms of experience.
Yes.
That you still don't know about because you have to protect yourself. TJ would be your guy, and you'd say, here we go. But you have to protect yourself. If TJ is not your guy when he's standing in the front of the line for the first time for an extended period.
So you would go and get it. You would go and get a prospect, essentially.
Yeah.
I think I'd go out and get a veteran. I think I'd go out and get a big name. I think I would go out and get a guy that I know can be the starting quarterback at Nebraska. And I would go, but this is just me watching TJ play in the 2 games against Iowa and Penn State, where he had a below 50% completion percentage and averaged under 200 yards.
Let's go UCLA, Penn State, because I think Iowa.
Okay,
yeah, he wasn't. Once he blew out the tire,
if I'm grading off of that, like I don't know if I'm necessarily getting like a Lenora Sellers or like a Sam Levitt or like
you mean out of the portal?
Out of the portal, like I'm not getting a top guy like that. But I'm getting a guy where I'm like, no, very well, he could be our starting. He could for sure be our starting quarterback if TJ doesn't take the leaps he could. If I have Dylan, you probably get a guy who you're not as confident in becoming your starter, in my opinion.
All right, Evan Bland's coming up in the next hour. More basketball. We'll talk some football because I haven't changed my priorities in the portal, but I've moved a position group up.
Okay,
thanks to a listener. We will dive into that when we come back on 1620 The Zone. All right, last time the Chiefs were not in the playoffs, we all had an iPhone 6. What are we up to now? 17?
I have no clue. I have a 12.
Oh, 14. I think they just introduced this fall the 17. How about this also for this run by the Chiefs where they come up short and don't make the Super Bowl? It has coincided with the NBC having the Super Bowl 2022 and then this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn. That's interesting. That's
so they've missed out on the Kansas City Mahomes run to feature them on the Super Bowl.
But
there will be plenty of Chiefs, though, in the postseason commercials. You can bet that were filmed in the middle of the summer by 87 and 15.
Dude, I had a moment watching the Bears-Browns game when Meghan Trainor came on with the All About That Bass State Farm commercial, and I got transported back to like August when I first saw it for the Texas-Ohio State game.
Yeah.
Like that's when it was first debuted. And I was like, wow, like time has really flown. Like then we thought Arch Manning could win the Heisman. You know, we were like, holy crap, Clemson and Penn State. This is going to be a big year for Franklin and Sweeney. Yeah. Like just I had that kind of like my football life of 2025 flash before my eyes. And then I remember you coming on the air after I got back from Denver. And this was after the Kansas City game. You just being like, I'm done with that commercial. I hate it. I can't do it. I'm not doing this whole season with it. And yet we've done it.
Yeah.
We've done it. She's still singing that song.
Yes.
And now actually it looks bad because Mahomes is on the training table.
I know.
And now she is going to be putting like a shoulder brace on his knee. And I'm pretty sure it's the knee that he hurt is that what he's like getting like helped with. So that's tough. I'm so sorry for you. Like you're handling it.
It's fun.
You're handling it really well. Okay. And I would handle it well too if I had won 3 Super Bowls in the last couple of seasons. But it's this season was already a season for hell for you. And now it's just turned into, can he come back from an ACL in 9 months? And do you really want him to come back from an ACL in 9 months? Or are you kind of
that seems to be 9 to 10 months. It's not, he didn't tear the whole alphabet. So that appears to be the 9 to 10 months. I don't know. I don't think you can punt next season. I don't think he's not all of a sudden going to be out a year and he's going to get a year younger. And there's expectations. Here's how upside down the season is. If I had to wager on somebody to win the AFC, as a Chiefs fan, I'm not afraid to admit this. I'd bet on Denver.
Yeah.
Bo Nix was pretty good yesterday. That might be one of the best performances I've seen out of Bo Nix. But if I had to wager on any team in the AFC, because I don't trust Buffalo, because I don't trust their head coach, but I do trust their quarterback, I would bet on Denver to be in the Super Bowl.
So I was waiting for Bo overthrows, and they never came.
He was great. He was great yesterday.
Came. And also too, and you know what I mean when I say this, he was slinging it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can kind of tell when a quarterback he's slinging it, he's just seeing it, and that doesn't just come from him being good. That comes from good coaching and good preparation. And he was clearly prepared and he was ready. And outside of that too, Green Bay couldn't get a pass rush outside of Micah. Like Micah was really the only one who was consistently getting them pressure. And then
that's terrible.
Then it is terrible.
Sucks the joy out of the season. I was hoping the Packers would give you a good game next week, but you'll probably beat them by 40?
Okay, stop it.
45?
Stop it.
You can beat them by 50?
Stop it. Now I know what you're doing. Okay?
No, I'm not doing anything. I'm analyzing the Packer-Bear game without Micah Parsons.
They're still a very good team without Micah Parsons, and they're still going to give us challenges. Don't now flip this on. We're still an underdog for a reason.
I wonder if Caleb will throw for 400.
He won't throw for 400.
I'll have to watch. You can watch tonight. This is the final game of the weekend of the NFL. Going to be a little bit nipply. Miami at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a 3-point favorite. I think that division comes down to the Ravens Steelers on the final weekend.
Yeah.
It is going to be 21 degrees. The real feel in Pittsburgh will be 11 degrees for a team from Miami. So I can't wait to see Mike McDaniel on the sidelines. How he will be dressed tonight.
In his capris? You think he'll be in his capris?
You remember what he looked like on that bitterly cold game, the playoff game in Kansas City?
Yes.
You think he'll be dressed like that?
Probably. He was, that guy's got style. That guy's got some good style.
A lot of people in Miami would like him to have some wins, but all of a sudden what are the Finns? 6-7?
They're 6-7.
They've won some games now. They've got a outside chance.
Well, they've played very crappy opponents too. They haven't.
You can only play the schedule that's in front of you.
Yeah, but I'm not
Look at you. You played the Browns yesterday.
Well, I'm not required to give
Kevin Stefanski was the head coach.
I'm not required to give them credit, okay? You can only play the teams in front of you, but I'm not going to – I don't have to be like, oh, my God, the Finns are good. This is a big game for them, though. Like, if they end up – he goes 7-7, you're heading into the final 2 weeks of the season. He could make a case of like, hey, we win one more game with how crazy the season has been in terms of injuries and the fact that they traded – they were sellers at the deadline. That, hey, I won 8 games. I should probably keep my job. He's a really – if Mike McDaniel, he probably won't win a Super Bowl as a head coach. But I would be shocked. I would not be surprised if he ever won a Super Bowl as an offensive coordinator because he's that good as an OC. And there's some guys who are great coordinators and not great coaches. He's a great coordinator.
All right, Evan Bland stops by, coming to the bottom of the hour. He was at the Devaney Center yesterday, so I'm sure he's got some thoughts on post-game. People got a little upset about the lack of availability for players. Probably keeping media safe. They got some flu going around. But Evan was there, the emotion. And Nebraska's volleyball season is over. So we're on to basketball. We're Ken Pomeroy this morning as Nebraska projected 24-7.
That's crazy.
13-7 in the Big Ten. And at some point today could find themselves inching towards top 15. Top 15. Just looked at this because we'll get to Creighton because I think you can be on Team Mac but not on Team 25-26 from the Creighton perspective. He has Creighton 15-16, 9-11
in the Big East.
Yep. There is football this week that is not surrounding the NFL. By the way, a great game on Thursday night. Rams and the Seahawks going to play in Seattle.
Yeah.
Where I watched that game yesterday. 60-yard field goals are just like,
by a guy who, by the way, got cut by the New Orleans Saints.
The ease of a 60-yard field goal. Now, I know Aubrey, who is usually money from that distance, was off last night. But just the ease where you don't even think twice. You're just going to run a guy out there. He's going to hit a 60-yard field goal.
Cam Little's hit 70-yard field goals now.
Liam Cohn might have fixed Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. But college football, we got 10 college games this week. And, of course, we have 4 playoff games beginning on Friday, which we will discuss as we go through the week. So Evan will join us coming up at the bottom of the hour. So I got to give a big thanks. A listener, Brian, who I've interacted with him periodically over the course of the years. He does not have a website, does not have a podcast, does not have a radio show, but he loves breaking down football.
Mm-hmm.
And so he emailed me the other day, and we got into this discussion about the new Nebraska defense. Whether it be a 4-2-5, a 3-3-5, or just put 11 guys on the field and everybody go make a play, whatever it's going to be. So we've gone back and forth, and he is just cutting up games from San Diego State.
Really?
Like I've seen the Cal game, Boise State. So he has gone in depth, and we were discussing yesterday via email of this defense, and if you're going to go into the portal, what exactly are you going into the portal for? And everybody says you got to go into the trenches, and that's, Nebraska's got to go O-line, D-line. That's a given. We talked about quarterback.
Yeah.
I have moved a position after looking at this defense on the way they're going to play. I have moved a position up a bit on what Nebraska has to go get. That is a position that I don't hear many people talking about. You know what position that is?
I think it's the linebacker.
It's linebacker. So fast physical linebackers thrive in the San Diego State system under Rob Orich. Nebraska doesn't have an abundance of them.
No.
And the linebacker play was very spotty this year. There weren't enough splash plays.
I agree.
And they got washed out a lot. You do return Vincent Shavers. You move on from a old head, and you move on from a guy that was way undersized to play in the Big Ten.
Way undersized.
So you have a lot of questions at linebacker because you have a lot of young guys who didn't necessarily make it onto the field. They didn't play an abundance of linebackers.
They really only played 3.
Yeah, and I don't need to see 54. Okay? 54 is great on special teams, and he's great to relieve guys.
Yeah.
I don't need to see Mr. Bowers out there playing.
I get what you're saying. I understand.
So I've moved up my thinking of Nebraska needs to go find a fast, physical linebacker in this system where they would be a star. You can be a star at linebacker in this system. So, like we all do, okay, let's see what San Diego State has. Now, I think you have to be careful here. Not every player that's going to go into the portal from San Diego State should be coming to Nebraska. Now,
no, God, no. You have to balance that.
There was a defensive lineman that is in the portal, and
guy
Beatty? Ed tweeted at me, and Salavi.
Okay.
Salafai. So
granted, he's probably not a high production guy.
No, and he's like, I think this guy should come to Nebraska. I said, no, he shouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay, not everybody from San Diego State, just because they know the defensive coordinator and the edge coach, should be coming here. They have to be either a nice supplemental piece or be better than the player that you are adding.
Yeah.
Now, I think some familiarity helps. We've never gone down this path of Nebraska under Rule having a defensive coordinator that can bring people that have familiarity. So he's bringing a edge rushing coach.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of player will he bring? So I did yeoman's work here.
Nice.
Chatting with some people. I got a guy. And it's okay if Nebraska tampers because everybody tampers. And he's not in the portal. But if I'm going to get a linebacker and I'm going to shop at the former home of Tony Gwynn, the late Tony Gwynn, Kawhi Leonard, do you have San Diego State's roster up?
I don't, but I've looked at it. I know there's
I'm going to give you a guy.
Okay.
And you remember, so get old, stay old.
Yeah.
Nebraska's approach in the portal is they like to have guys for multiple years because usually year 2 they're going to pop.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what you think of a linebacker who would have 2 years left named Owen Chambliss.
I'm going to show you my computer screen here real quick so you see that I'm not looking at it. He's got 105 tackles and 4 sacks, right?
Yeah.
Like that. So I've looked at him too. Yes, please.
He's not in the portal.
Yeah.
He is 6'3", 230. He's a sophomore from Corona, California this past year, 67 tackles, 4 sacks. He had 13 tackles against Hawaii, Wyoming, Northern Illinois. He had 10 against Cal. So he had 2 of his 4 sacks were against Hawaii in a 38-6 loss. So there are a couple other guys on their roster, and including one that is going into the portal that Nebraska in the previous staff offered, who started at Illinois. But when you're watching San Diego State film, and again, thank you, Brian, look at number 12 on the defensive side of the football and tell me what you think.
Gary, he's 6'3", 230 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Like
fast physical linebackers, I think in this defense can make money.
You don't have too many guys like that who are necessarily cream of the crop in terms of measurables at their position, right? 6'3", 230, that's cream of the crop. That's top of the heap. That's like, oh wow, okay. That's a, what do we talk about? Stories over, or dudes over stories.
Mm-hmm.
I want dudes. I don't want stories. I want guys who are hit stickers, broke dickers, who are top of the line, athletes. I love the, hey, he was a walk-on from, this small town and he ended up working his way up. Like, I get that. Okay. Like, those are nice. Gary, I'm going to be blunt here, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but like, that's the reason why Nebraska's been 3-9 and 4-8 and 5-7, because you have too many of those guys and you don't have enough of these. Hey, this dude's getting drafted. This dude's top of the line. 6'3", 230. Thank you very much. And you're right. The linebacker position, there would be moments where you're like, oh wow, Javen Wright having hell of a game. Oh my God, look at that play from Vincent Shavers. Look at him shoot the gap. And then you would probably go a quarter and a half and you're like, where the hell are our linebackers? Why aren't they making plays? Why are they shooting the wrong gaps? Why is the offensive line moving up to the second level and Marquise Watson-Trent got swallowed? Well, because so many times.
He was undersized. He was 5'11", and that might have been a stretch.
So yes, give me Owen Chambliss, give me Henderson, give me White. Just give me these guys. I think Trey White's had 19 and a half sacks in the last 2 seasons. Like, those are kind of the guys that when you hire a defensive coordinator like this, that you hope, hey, they can bring in and make a impact immediately.
Now, I think Dylan Rogers' stock has gone up.
I agree
a little bit. Shavers is Shavers. Solid year as the number 1 guy,
but wasn't what I expected.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Dawson Merritt needs to play more, and I think this is a game. The bowl game is perfect for him. Now, you don't want to take away snaps from Javen Wright because of what he has done in the program, and he's also, you can't just sacrifice the game and say, you know what, Utah, can you just can you run a couple of plays like this because you just want to see guys? So you're going to have your starters out there.
Sure.
But this is a game where, does Dawson Merritt play a little bit more? Because you know he's going to be back. You want to have a good sense of what he can do under the lights against an opponent that is going to be physical, that's going to run right at you. Instead of is going to dance with you and put you in space, they're going to try and run you over.
So you're probably, and I'm going to be on an island here probably in suggesting this, and it's just a suggestion. Okay. I'm just kind of throwing this out here because we've talked about changing positions, right? And that's what Matt Rule likes to do, to switch guys in positions. One guy that they talked about being an incredibly physical player on the team was Donovan Jones. Okay. Now he's 6'1", he's 200 pounds. So you would have to put weight on him, but he tackles, man. He hits. I mean, he's a physical hitter. When they got on the outside the numbers, and he had to tackle wide receivers, he wrapped up, I think, better than honestly anybody on the roster. He's got great form. There were moments, and I think he could be a good corner. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I think he's a solid corner, and he had good moments in the Big Ten playing corner. There were also times where, he was getting beat and he had to commit penalties in order to cover guys. Would you, and I'm not saying full-time switch him in position, but would you go ahead and maybe put let's see what we have maybe with him at linebacker? Because I think he
What about
might
playing nickel?
I like that too.
Remember,
I like that.
They were training him at safety.
Yeah.
I like that before he got moved back to cornerback during fall camp.
I put him at nickel because you get the best of both worlds.
I think nickel is another spot. Now, looking at this conference and my love of Caleb Downs, I think having a safety in the middle of the back end, that people are afraid of, that is the quarterback that makes plays, but people don't want to go anywhere near them, that can tackle in space, that's got quick twitch, and can run the defense from the back end, I think would be ideal. Those guys are a dime a dozen, or not a dime a dozen. Those guys don't happen very often around here. But that would be another on my list because I think the nickel position in this defense, that nickel position is also a position that could be very sexy because I think you're going to be in a spot to make plays. It's going to be just like that. The linebacker is going to be fast and physical. And I think they can make money in this defense from that position. I think the nickel could be, that's one of our better athletes that is on the field.
And I also, too, to your point about the safeties, right? Having that guy in the middle of the field, I think if you want to be successful in the Big Ten, you have to look around and look at blueprints and be like, hey, what have successful teams, how have they built their rosters, right? Number one is always offensive line and the running back. But you go ahead and you look at the Big Ten and teams that have been successful and teams that, have won maybe games you didn't think they would win. Coy Parrish, at Minnesota, safety. Jabril Peppers back in the day with Michigan. You have Caleb Downs, like you mentioned. Go ahead and
Caleb Downs is a little bit of a unicorn because they line him up. If play cornerback.
Sure.
He'll play safety. He'll play nickel. He'll play rover. He'll move up and play linebacker for a snap. So, but I mean, if there was one player in the league that I would grab and say, hey, that guy would be a difference maker, that'd be the guy I'd put on Nebraska's roster.
I agree. And another thing too, Gary, is and people are going to laugh, but this is just the truth. Northwestern, right? When they've been successful, I know they've had really good safeties.
Who's the guy that can't stand when you bring up Northwestern?
I think that's SEAL Team Knicks. Yeah, we'll get
made him happy this morning.
But go ahead and look, they've outperformed expectations, and probably one of their top position that they've had in terms of guys performing has been running backs, and I would say the second one has been safeties. And so it's I'm just kind of bringing up these examples of good safeties with teams that have had success. That is kind of a position. If you're looking around the Big Ten, if you're going to be successful in the Big Ten, you need a hit kicker. You need a physical guy. You need a guy who's blocking down. Well, you need somebody to
play better than Rex Guthrie did at the end of the year. And this is like a bowl game. I think I know what I got out of Rex Guthrie. Okay, I'm not going to throw him away. And it's clear that they like him. They like him a lot.
Yeah.
But in the bowl game, let's see a little Caleb Benning. Let's see what Caleb Benning can do at safety.
I agree.
You've got an abundance of defensive backs. I'd like to see more. Granted, Andrew Marshall is a baller, and you're going to take him off the field. Kind of a game that I'd like to see Amari Sanders play.
Yeah.
Okay. I already know what I have, but I'd like to see him play a little bit more, like Khan. Does Nebraska know what they have in Jeremiah Charles?
Yeah. I mean,
the only time that really we've seen him that he's been involved in a high stress situation was he came in when Hill went down against Illinois. Well, Illinois 2 years ago. And they picked on him right away. Yeah. And he was taken right back.
And then
didn't
he
game.
play the USC game? They got picked on a little bit too, and then they had to bring Wright in, and then he ended up having that game. Like you've kind of been on this safety train a little bit, like dating back to like the Michigan State game. But it's like I thought of another one, like Sidney Brown, like back when Illinois was killing it, like that. Like he was a great safety.
I think you need a safety that is the smartest guy on the field.
But
not only one of the best athletes and best football players, but he has to be one of if not the smartest guy on the football field of that 11.
And I'm jiving with I'm picking up everything you're putting down here with being physical in the middle and having that center fielder. But I'm always going to say this in terms of what they have to acquire in the transfer portal. They got to get pass rushers. You're right. They need to get physical linebackers and they need a lockdown safety. But what they need more than anything is just dudes who can get after the quarterback and get after the quarterback consistently. And when their opportunities in obvious passing situations weren't as much as you would prefer them to be. Mm-hmm. But when they were in obvious passing situations, they didn't have enough guys where you can say, all right, line them up. Sevens, go at them.
The startling thing that came out on Friday, did these guys even know what they were doing?
They didn't. Yeah. They literally didn't.
All right. Evan Bland's going to join us before the hour is over here on 1620 The Zone on a Monday morning. For some, a victory Monday. For others, the reality of sports will take you through the gauntlet, the roller coaster. That's kind of like a 5-setter. Everything in sports that you love and hate happened in 5 sets at the Devaney Center yesterday.
Yeah.
And we're back with more Gary and Matt after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, so there was a special moment. I don't know if the Cash realized it, but the diehards realized it. There was a moment with professional wrestling on Saturday as John Cena, that's it, John Cena has retired. I loved what Jesse the Body Ventura. People forget that he used to be the governor of Minnesota.
I was down in the Baja.
He would be a great, put him on regular broadcasts. Politics aside, because he's a little crazy out there. But
yes and no.
No, he'd be great. He would be the great heel on a broadcast because he'd bring truth. He said, yeah, Cena's been a champ 17 times, but that means he's lost 17 times. True. Cena, bum.
Flair said that too. They put Jesse on regular broadcast, and
he's back.
But the problem is he would shoot, and he would be like, "Why are they doing that? Like back in the day, like what is it?" Like he would. Okay, so sometimes WWE they don't stick with the Crockett heel logic, right? And so Jesse, when they're not doing heel logic, would be like, "Why aren't they doing this?" You know what I'm saying? Like there are multiple times where he's like, why isn't he trying to climb out of the cage? He's on the ground. Doesn't he want to win the match? Like, Jesse, that's not the point, right? We've given you lines. Say the lines. I like Jesse.
I like that he goes curveball. Now, I wish, and this is asking, because you are more of a wrestling fan than I am, but I do follow it. Not as in depth as I did when I was younger, but I do follow it. Why didn't they break old school and let Cena win?
Okay, so
because that's the old school thinking as he tapped out against Gunther.
Yeah.
That's how they do it. But in this case, one of the most popular wrestlers of all time. He might not be on a Mount Rushmore, but he
is.
Okay.
He for sure.
I'm not pushing back. But I'm saying he is super popular.
Yes.
And what he has done for the sport, and he's just a good person who unfortunately turned heel. And I think because of the whole crap at WrestleMania,
they botched that.
Yeah, and it's kind of his farewell tour has been kind of muted a bit.
And not muted, it was not executed the way it should have been executed.
So he is the ultimate company man.
So
company man. They had Vince McMahon was in his tribute, but I know he turned heel. I wish they would have gone against the norm, and Triple H would have said, "Let's give the fans what they want." There's 19,000 here. Mm-hmm. There's millions others that know who John Cena is, and it's going to be sad when he takes off his wristbands and he leaves his shoes in the middle of the ring. Why couldn't they have gone break old school and just let John Cena win?
So you are on probably what most people would consider the right side of this opinion, okay? But I would say this. Michaels lost his final match. Taker lost his final match.
I know.
Batista lost his final match. Like all these guys have lost.
So we're talking John Cena.
And look, there was one guy that I remember specifically winning his final match. That was Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
John Cena has been the biggest superstar since Hulk Hogan, in my opinion. I mean, they are.
Oh, you're spot on.
They are basically. You look at John Cena, if anything, is like the modern day Hulk Hogan. And there were people who were crying when Hogan retired. There were people crying, and I got emotional, honestly, when John Cena retired because he's such an important piece. Here's my one thing, though. Triple H has always looked at the business as not just a one-night event. He's always looked at it as how can we push things forward, right? Mm-hmm. How can we elevate certain people? The Royal Rumble used to be a nostalgia kick. It used to be, we're bringing back the Boogeyman. We're bringing back the Godfather. We're bringing back Mae Young. We're bringing back it was supposed to make you warm your cockles, make you feel good. But under Triple H, they haven't done that at all. They use the Rumble not as a nostalgia kick, not as a surprise entrance, but bringing in young people and putting them in a spotlight and moving the business forward and pushing different storylines. And so the reason why John Cena lost was because Gunther, who beat him, had to be escorted by security on his way out to his car. Okay. The reason why he lost is because everybody hates Gunther now. Everybody can't stand him. Everybody can't believe that he made their childhood hero tap out. And so that's why he lost. And you know what? When Brock Lesnar retires in 2026, guess who's going to retire him? It's going to be Gunther. And he'll be the man who retired Goldberg.
I don't think I get emotional when Brock Lesnar retires.
No. But Gunther will be the man. I agree. but he will be the man who retired Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, and John Cena, and that will elevate him. And so that's why they did it. I don't disagree with you. I would not have minded if he won. I would not. If he won, I would have been awesome. That's how. If anybody deserves it, if anybody should go out on top, it's that guy. It's the never before seen 17-time greatest of all time champion John Cena. But I kind of get, like, I looked at it and I go, this is how it's done. And you know what? If John Cena wanted to go over in that match, he would have gone over. Okay, that was John's finish. And people were like, I didn't like that he smiled when he tapped out. That's John smiling. That's John having his entire career flash before his eyes and realizing, hey, I did it the way that I wanted.
You're right. They botched.
They botched the entire retirement.
They botched the last 6 months of John Cena.
Gary, they could have just said, you know what? Hey, we're going to play the hits. Like, we're going to go out there, and for the next 12 months,
we like nostalgia when it comes to wrestling.
We're gonna have him wrestle Styles and Punk and Orton, and then have him, wrestle Zayn. There were still guys that he didn't wrestle that I would have liked for him to have wrestled. Instead, they go, no, we're gonna overdo it. We're gonna try and be creative. We're gonna have him turn heel, and they invested one of the most important storylines, John Cena's retirement. They invested that storyline into two guys that they didn't even know were coming back. If they didn't even know, they had no clue if The Rock was going to be there consistently for dates. They had no clue if Travis Scott was going to be there consistently for dates. And they used those two guys who aren't even full-timers to turn him heel, and it made him look like a dumbass for 6 months, pretending. And it was never, John Cena being a heel was never viable. Like, it wasn't authentic. And then
thanks, Rock.
Yeah, Rock screwed it. Rock screwed it up completely.
Evan Bland, he's got a thought on John Cena. He'll join us next on 1620 The Zone. All right, the conflicted emotions of sports this weekend, especially if you're a Nebraska fan. You went through the high of Saturday in Champaign to the low of late afternoon yesterday at the Devaney Center. Evan Bland was there. We've got him now from the Omaha World Herald. Good morning.
Morning, guys.
Okay, now it's about 12, 16 hours afterwards. As you try and put what you saw in a 5-set thriller and the emotion of 33-0 becomes 33-1. Anything different that you think about it when you were driving home, like what Nebraska could have done differently or how that all unfolded, that Nebraska's dominating season, magical year came to an end?
I think the thing that stands out to me is like the adjustments that they could have made normally, they weren't able to make this week because of just weird circumstances. Like, who would have thought that Bergen Riley, the setter, would be under the weather and like not sure if she'd be able to finish the match. And typically you have another star freshman and Campbell Flynn who'd be able to come in, but she was out from a practice injury. And so you didn't really have like an established backup option there. Or you see how Nebraska needed a spark on the edge to try to get around this big A&M block. And typically the changeup that you go to there in Ali Check, 6'4", left-handed hitter, all Big 12 type of talent at Baylor. And she trips on a ball in warm-ups in the last 15 minutes of warm-ups, and she's in a walking boot on the side. And so, like, the depth that Nebraska has been able to flex at times this year when it's needed it, just very, very randomly wasn't there on Sunday. And so when you're not firing on all cylinders and some of your better players are kind of grinding through it, Andy Jackson or Virginia Adriano was up and down at times. And it wasn't just them, it was what A&M was doing on the other side. But that inability to make those personnel adjustments the way that you normally could, I think, was something that stands out. And, Nebraska volleyball's had a few of these over the years where they've had great seasons that seemed destined for glory, and you get into these one and done tournaments and things happen. So I still think this is a team that history will look back on as one of the better teams in Nebraska volleyball history, but ultimately this is a program that defines itself by raising banners, and this is a group that wasn't able to do it. And I think that's why there was a special level of agony, not just that it was over, but that it didn't go the way that it could have, and that a lot of people envisioned that it would.
Evan, you bring that up, right? Texas, tough national championship game. Texas was just the better team that day, ends up beating Nebraska. Last year, the reverse sweep against Penn State. Now this game, in the Elite Eight, just one of those things where it was a terrible storm of things to happen pregame, right? But then it was also just followed up by Texas A&M played an absolutely incredible volleyball match. Is there anything like with these three losses and just kind of what you mentioned, the trend now of Nebraska having seasons in the regular season that are destined to win the national championships and they end up falling short? Is there anything to pin this on? Is there anything to say, hey, they got to go back and fix this specifically? Or is this kind of just the nature of the beast and this is how hard it is to win national championships?
Like, to me, this is a situation where you say the process was sound, but the result didn't play out the way that you wanted. Mm-hmm. Like, I think you have to certainly take a step back and you always hear don't make emotional decisions in the moment. But like, I think you look at this season and the way it was constructed and you say the process was good. I mean, the way that they stockpiled talent, the way that they balanced star players and spread playing time around, like that's hard to do anyway. I think it's harder still with a first-year head coach in Danny Busboom Kelly who comes over. So I thought she was masterful in the way that she balanced this team and found that depth. Certainly it played out over the course of the season, and they had some big wins over ranked teams. It wasn't, they didn't play an easy schedule by any means. And so, yeah, I think you say, like, let's do it again. Like, I think if Nebraska had the option to do it over, I'm not sure what they would do differently other than, put their players in bubble wrap the week of the NCAA tournament and keep everyone healthy and that sort of thing. Like, I think if they were at full strength in terms of health, I think they'd win that game on Sunday. I do, but it just didn't break their way. And so, I think that's one of the hardest things. Like when you have a national title caliber of a team and it doesn't work out, to like feel that in your gut that we did everything that we could, and yet on this day it didn't necessarily play out. I mean, statistically, Nebraska's everything that you want in terms of the top hitting team and holding opponents' hitting percentage. That was the best in the country. Their block was strong. Their middles are two of the best in the country. They dig well. I mean, I suppose you could say that they could have served a little bit better. That's something that this team probably could get a little bit better at, but you're probably nitpicking at that point too. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just how it goes. Like when you're at the top of the sport and you're one of the brands of what you do, like the microscope's going to be on you all the time and you're going to be in the mix, but you're not always going to win it. There are a lot of other teams out there with talented athletes and resources, and it's as competitive as it's ever been. So I don't know that there's any big picture thing. I think if you're in Nebraska, you continue to stockpile talent and develop it, and you're in the mix and you're hosting matches late in the season. And I think it's going to average out, at least relatively speaking, over time with that sport.
And, another part of, and I said this at the beginning of our show, we just have to be better in that moment. And Texas A&M was better in the moment yesterday. I don't think that DBK could have ever imagined that Texas A&M and their head coach, Jamie Morrison, knows Andy Jackson because of the USA Volleyball connection. And Andy Jackson has told the story about playing for Coach Morrison during USA Volleyball stuff, that he has challenged her.
Yeah.
Do you want to be a volleyball player? You just want to be a middle? Who would have ever thought that they would have figured out Andy Jackson yesterday? And somebody who is all Big Ten, all American type, one of your best players. And this is something that DBK has done throughout the year, is if you're not playing well, you're going to sit. And she did that last weekend. She did it on Friday night, that Andy Jackson wouldn't give you anything yesterday.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's part of it. And you talk about like coin flips and circumstances. I mean, Louisville could have just as easily beaten A&M 2 days earlier as well. It could have been a totally different matchup. And then, I think the other thing that sometimes comes into play too is Nebraska was so dominant this year that you just kind of wondered what would happen when inevitably they got into an epic 5-set sort of scenario. And to their credit, like that fourth set was some of the most dramatic theater I can remember witnessing in sport, where they can't convert on 9 different set points, and they hold off 3 match points from A&M, and you can just tell like they had a heart of a champion. They were digging deep, and that was not them wilting in the moment. Like they kept coming back, and they weren't 100%, and it was like the Michael Jordan flu game a little bit. Like they just kind of kept figuring it out and hanging around. And I think you ask anyone in that arena wearing red, and they believe that Nebraska was going to win right down to the end, and it doesn't happen. And so, I think sometimes you can kind of look at that too and just say they were just so good all year. When you're done in 3 sets and you wrap things up in an hour and 10 minutes, like how do you respond in those moments? I thought they did well, but they certainly didn't have a lot of practice in those kind of moments either. So again, just so many little individual circumstances added up, and ultimately you're talking about a team that fell 2 points shy of going back to the Final Four.
Evan, my dad is 63 years old, and he's getting to the point in life where he just doesn't really like care anymore. He just kind of just does. He just kind of does and says what he wants. And he's like, what are people going to do? What's anybody going to do about it? Right. You were in a press conference the other day where I got the same exact vibe when a 69-year-old Phil Snow went to the podium and started saying some stuff that were like, whoa, Phil. And I think Phil very much was like, what's Matt Rule going to do? Fire me? Like what he's going to send me to retirement a year early, and said some very interesting things, man, about, the fact that, guys straight up didn't know what they were doing and what the call was. And even said that, he was willing to tell Matt Rule, hey, you got to coach the D-line. Like if he said, if I was a defensive coordinator, Matt Rule would be coaching the D-line, but I'm not the DC, which is, kind of funny to say. What was the vibe like during that press conference when he was saying all the things that we saying? And what is your takeaway over him just being brutally honest about some of the things that were going on with this defense?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me, I think it was a Jerry Seinfeld bit about like you get to a certain age and you're back in your car out of the driveway and you're not even looking back anymore. Like you're coming back. You spent your whole life waiting and looking out for other people. You're coming back. But no, I think it was refreshing. It's always refreshing when you hear somebody in a situation or in an environment like that speak their mind. Like, to people that watch the interviews, sometimes like it can be kind of intimidating if you're up there, you're at the podium, it's in kind of a classroom setting. And so a lot of times people just kind of get uptight. And Phil Snow didn't get uptight. Like he was somebody who I felt like if there was a whiteboard behind him, he was going to start scribbling notes on it and passing along pointers to the media folks in the room. Like that's just how he's wired. And you watch a practice and he's the one with the loudest voice still, like just audibly he projects and has strong opinions too. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's the first thing that probably stood out to me was his mention that players didn't know what the calls were. Like that gets your attention. Like why is that the case? And why is that the case late in the year? And why is that the case with, a group with a lot of seniors on it and a lot of single digits on it. So I think, that raised some eyebrows and some antenna. And, he didn't really want to get too much into kind of breaking down what happened against Penn State and Iowa. He said there were various reasons for it and he had a good sense of what it was, but didn't really want to talk too much about it. But, he's old school for sure. The DC for Matt Rule, the first 10 years of his time as a head coach. And there's no one else on that staff that can say, if I were DC, Matt Rule would be coaching the D line. Like there's just, there's a freedom in that. And I'll be fascinated to see what that presence of Phil Snow, how that translates into this bowl game where, he's clearly like, this is his last game coordinating a defense where he's been doing it for the better part of half a century. And he knows this is it. And, the players, I think, respond well to his bluntness, his honesty, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to see, like Matt Rule has said, one of the things he wanted in that next full-time defensive coordinator was someone who can get the players to play, who can get them amped up. And I think Phil Snow is the kind of guy who can do that and has done that often in his career. So it's the same guys largely that we saw in the month of November struggle to stop the run. Well, Utah runs it better than all of them. And so what's the value of players being amped up and maybe having a better idea of what the call is? We're going to have a chance to see that before the turnover comes into 2026. I think that'll be one of the most fascinating parts of the bowl game to watch.
So I love honesty, but I think the honesty on Friday, instead of answering questions, to me, it brought up more. So when this season is going like this and you can feel it start to slip and you're around it every day, what was the role of Rule and Snow to step in and say, we can't, what's going on here while you're in the middle of the season?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, Snow didn't want to get too into kind of the weeds of it, but you're right. Like if you're noticing it in the moment, like that's why you're there is as a kind of a quality control, second voice, safety net, veteran presence type of role. Why didn't that get corrected? I think the Penn State game surprised them in some ways. Like I think Williams Nwaneri called it a lull. There was kind of a late lull. They were feeling good coming off of UCLA, and then you have the bye week. So I think the Penn State game probably snuck up on them a little bit in terms of the performance. And then it was such a weird transition into Iowa. Like the post game for Penn State, I'll never forget being out there and how quickly they wanted to get back to Lincoln and turned the focus to Iowa. I mean, it was like being in a NASCAR pit with the driver pulling off and changing 4 tires and getting on. Like there was no time for reflection, even in the post game, certainly not in the days leading up to Iowa. And so I think there was a kind of a snowball effect or things just didn't get, corrected somewhere in the wash, somewhere in all that rushing and hurrying around. So that's another reason I say, like, it'll be interesting to see how they respond in the Utah game, because Nebraska wasn't awful against the run all year. They were in the last 2 games, but now that you have a month to reflect, to reset, you have someone in place who can, maybe tap in more emotionally with them. What does that look like? Like, is this, was that sort of a 2-off, or is this something bigger and maybe more chronic that Rob Orich is going to have to take a look at? I think that'll be really interesting to see.
Yeah. Well, that's New Year's Eve will be quite interesting how we look at that game through a different lens. Evan, appreciate it as always. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Thanks, Evan Bland. Good stuff covering volleyball over the weekend. John Butler have carte blanche, and he was untouchable. Because I think as a head coach, you sense that, and you have to hear guys, and visually, you're like, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I mean, so you go ahead and now we really know what was going on in terms of we had a bunch of missed assignments in the first 8 plays is what they said the Penn State game. Well, you had a bunch of missed assignments because I don't think they knew what their assignment was.
So that's off a bye week.
Yeah.
So Nebraska very, very comfortable.
That was something.
It's comfortable to be a Nebraska football player at times.
That was something that Evan said where he goes, yeah, it snuck up on them. I go, they had 7 extra days to get ready for that. How does that sneak up on you?
Well, because they don't have a lot of edgy people in the program that have never won that want to win so bad.
Well,
or you have ones that are like, wow, this is pretty cool to be a football player in Nebraska. We just won our 7th game, man. This is awesome.
Yeah.
This is really cool, man. Let's go. Let's go.
Man, Gary, we've had this conversation so many times, and maybe we'll have it up next where it's just like, why do bad things have to happen for that program to have an edge?
Well, that's when you're an average football program.
Yep.
All right. We're back with the last hour after this. Wow, the story out of Los Angeles involving Rob Reiner and his wife. Wow. So they were found stabbed to death yesterday, the legendary filmmaker. Their son is a person of interest.
Yeah, I saw that.
Man, Rob Reiner, and he kind of his views on politics. I don't necessarily agree with, but I agree with. Man, he had some magic. Whether he was Meathead in All in the Family, or if you look at the first 7 films that he directed, when Harry Met Sally.
So yeah,
I mean that's just one of them.
Mm-hmm. Great movie.
Fantastic career. The moment that I keep going back to, because in my household we watched All in the Family.
Mm-hmm.
So Meathead he played that role perfectly.
Yeah.
If you go and look at he only is on camera for about 10 minutes in Wolf of Wall Street, and he steals all of the scenes in that movie that he is in.
$26,000 worth of sides, Jordy? 2020. What do the sides do? They cure cancer? I mean, he was Mad Max is one of like it is a legendary cameo in a legendary movie. And also too, like when Harry Met Sally is it's one of the oldies that I know, and one of the oldies that I love. And he's just really talented, great writer, great producer, really good actor. He was even in Wizards of Waverly Place on Disney Channel, and he had a pretty big role. Like he was I think like the dad of and he was a part of my childhood because I loved Wizards of Waverly
Spinal Tap, which he also is really well known for.
I didn't know that when Harry Met Sally had When Harry Met Sally 2. I didn't know that there was a second movie. I feel like we were kind of done after one. Like they met each other. You know what I'm saying? We did the whole. Was it good? Have you seen it? No, I figured.
His son. This is reported by TMZ. His son is now in custody.
Wow.
Just tragedy. His wife. He's 78. His wife's 68. Were found stabbed in their Brentwood home yesterday. There was a little bit of college football portal news.
Oh Lord.
It involves a quarterback.
Oh, Lord.
He finishes with, after much prayer, reflection, and thoughtful consideration.
Is that an actual quote?
Yes. Okay. I have decided to enter the transfer portal. Would you guys like to play the game?
Aiden Childs.
No. Oh, that's an interesting one. Yeah. I wonder what Fitzgerald will do with the quarterback position in East Lansing.
Not him.
Okay. So that is not who has posted something.
Levitt already went. Did Levitt already go? I think Levitt already went.
I think Dillingham acknowledged it. Yeah. I don't think he's done the all glory to God.
Okay. Let's do Nico Emiliava.
No.
Okay.
It is somebody who was mentioned for the 2026 Heisman race back in the middle of the summer.
Sellers?
No, he actually is coming back to South Carolina. He's not going to go to the draft.
He re-signed. Did you see all the USC posts of re-signing?
So there's part of this. You do re-sign your scholarship papers.
Yeah.
But I think that is a recruiting thing.
Yeah.
Where
okay. Yeah. They're coming back, and so we'll celebrate you.
Yeah. But it also are they signing for more? It's like, this is a big deal.
Is he getting
signing a contract?
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah. I get what you're saying.
It's like the optics, you're playing like mind games.
I also think too, from maybe a recruiting perspective, like when you see that's what professional teams do, right? They say, oh, hey, re-signed. I think like if USC wants to be like, hey, we're a professional program. Like we are the 33rd NFL team, essentially. If they want to do that, if that's their slant, I don't blame them. I think it's a pretty good slant. I just saw it pop up on my Twitter, so you can say it.
First and foremost, I want to thank God for every blessing that is placed over my life. I'm truly grateful for the opportunity to have been part of such an incredible program here at the University of Florida. DJ Legway is now in the portal.
How interested would you like he's a very interesting prospect to me because he's a prospect.
He has 2 years of eligibility remaining.
So you'd have to play him. You're not
acquiring him.
Yeah, you're not acquiring him to take a flyer on.
All right, we have 3 guys on campus. Whatever one makes it through spring and fall camp, you're going to be the starter.
I don't know. I think that there were like DJ Lagway is a classic, like moments of brilliance, like holy crap, how is this guy as a tight end and he can throw the football and he's got a rocket arm. And then there are moments of like, hey, he doesn't know how to play quarterback. Like he doesn't know how to process. He doesn't know. Like he just can't. He's perfect. Like he's a Greek god. All right, sculpted to play football, but it's just he doesn't have a well enough understanding of how to play the quarterback position, which funny enough, I think is happening more and more in football in general. I don't know, man. Like
everybody's going to be looking for the Fernando Mendoza.
I don't think he's that.
From Cal to Indiana.
Because Fernando Mendoza you put me on to him. You told me, you're like, go ahead and look at this California quarterback they got.
I watched a lot of Cal football 2 years ago. Actually, I watched, and they got another good quarterback who is staying.
Oh, he's staying?
Yeah, like wow. Cal football is like the gift to people that can't sleep on Saturday nights because they're on at 9 o'clock. So I was all fired up.
You were.
Everybody was talking about the Cal Miami game, and I'm like, I've already seen like 5 Cal games.
So you told me about Mendoza, and the thing about Mendoza was that he performed at a high level at Cal despite what he had. Right? That was kind of the classic. Oh, he performed above expectations. Lagway, it'd be rude to say, but it's not inaccurate, helped his head coach get fired. But part of the reason Napier doesn't have a job anymore is because DJ Lagway did not end up being the guy that they thought he would be.
What is DJ Lagway most known for in Gainesville? He got Billy Napier fired, so thank you.
Yeah, seriously.
You just didn't want to stick around for John Summerall.
No. And so it's like, do I really want to get a guy with 2 years of eligibility left, which in this day and age isn't that many years of eligibility left, period? And do I want to get a guy that clearly has not lived up to the billing, right? I mean, it'll be interesting to see.
He lived off that end of last year. He carried him through the whole summer.
He beat 2 ranked teams, and we all flipped out about it. We're like, holy crap. And he also, like Dylan in a way, definitely has, he rode the coattails of being a highly ranked prospect out of high school. And so that's kind of been, a reason why we're talking about him now. But just from a playing perspective, he's not great.
He'll fall up. And he'll get love at his new place. And then he'll show up on the 2026 preseason Heisman list, which I know it's early. This might be one of the deeper pool of candidates.
You could probably call a shot and say a non-quarterback is going to win it. Tony out of Miami.
Yeah.
And then you got...
Especially if he flashes here in Saturday against Texas A&M, gets to play a little bit.
Yeah. Then you'll have Jeremiah Smith, obviously out of Ohio State. Like those are the two that I think of right away. And then here's one that I'll throw out to you, Gary. What happens with Jadarian Price? Does Jadarian Price go to the NFL draft and try and get drafted right away, or does he say, no, I'm gonna take over the reins of what is an awesome Notre Dame offensive line and be the guy in South Bend? That'll be interesting.
I saw one guy on Saturday night that I know.
Hardy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there are a lot of pushback that a lot of people didn't vote for him in the Heisman. Damon Williams at Washington.
That's a good one.
Now,
I like that
depending on what happens with Jed Fish and on the favorite poly market, he's a 52% chance that he's going to be the next Michigan coach. Well, Eli Drinkwitz is being mentioned, and people in Michigan on the message boards are just killing him. If Jed Fish returns and they find a way to stock their lines, I am buying stock in Washington next year. I kind of liked them going into this year. They made a 3-win jump, and they're going to return him for his 3rd year starting.
Yeah.
They got some nice young skill players.
Mm-hmm.
If they're able to figure out some things on the lines, they'll be one of those teams that'll be like, hey, that's a team to watch in the Big Ten. Ironically, they're on Nebraska's schedule. Washington, Jed Fish has got a good thing going there in Seattle. But if he leaves, what happens to that roster? Because what happens to that quarterback? Now, if you went to Michigan, you're probably not taking him because there's a guy at Michigan.
Yeah.
But what happens to Damon Williams if his head coach leaves? Now, if his head coach stays and they're building on him for maybe 1 year, Washington will be a sexy team in the offseason.
Okay, I have because I don't know their depth chart.
That was a bad bowl game. I expected that result. Got off to a good start in the bowl pick mania.
Oh, I didn't do it.
I had Washington, Boise State, as my 38.
Okay. This is funny. How many quarterbacks do you think are on the Oregon roster?
Only a couple.
No, there's 7. They have
really?
7 guys listed at quarterback. I don't even know who their backup would be. All this to say, if Dante Moore ends up going to the draft, which he more than likely end up will, dude, Damon Williams at Oregon. If Fish were to go to Michigan,
to leave to go to your rival.
Well, dude, no love loss. No love loss. I'm sorry, man. You're about dollars and you're about draft positioning.
Now,
okay?
only if his head coach leaves.
Only
correct?
if his head coach leaves. If his head coach were to leave, which that would make me mad if I were Damon Williams, and Dan Lanning's got a big old bag, and he's telling me, hey, look at Bo Nix. Look at Dante Moore. Look at these 2 guys who both went in the first round. You're next. You're next. You'll come in. You'll play here at Oregon. Hey, Brett Ciancia, who's our very dear friend, what was he saying in the preseason? He goes, Oregon's good now, but Oregon is young enough where I would pick them to win the 2026 national championship. So they're going to bring a lot of guys back. They're going to bring a ton of weapons, and they got the bag to go in the portal and make their already young, really good team, even great team, better.
There is some chatter this week that the Big Ten will release their 26 schedule. You know, the SEC released their 9-gamer last week.
Yeah.
So at some point this week, I think it's expected that the Big Ten will announce the dates. You already know the opponents. Who do you think will get slotted in the first conference game in 2026? Remember, Indiana, Maryland, Ohio State, Washington all come to Lincoln. Illinois, Iowa, Michigan State, Oregon, Rutgers are all on the road. Will this be another opener in Champaign?
I was about to say, you know what? I will guess they will begin the season in Illinois. It just makes sense. I don't think they would start them off
on a Friday night.
Yeah, I don't.
On a Friday night, the 25th of September.
Yeah, start them off on August 27th. It's a Thursday. It's at 7:00. It's on Big Fox.
Now, this is a 1-bye year, right? There's not 2 like we had this year. This is a 1-bye year.
I don't know.
Because the season starts on September 5th.
Yes, it does.
So it's a 1-bye.
Yeah, 1-bye.
When will that bye happen? Ideally in the middle of the year instead of in November.
God, can you imagine if they gave them a bye after North Dakota?
Oh, I would be vehemently opposed to that.
Yeah, me too.
Play your first 3 games and have your first bye, and then the next you have a 9-game run.
Yeah, that'd be hell on earth. That'd be holy crap. And then you already have to play a really tough schedule. I think because I don't think they'll start.
But when you play somebody is important. Like who are you going to get at the beginning of the year? Who are you going to get at the end of the year that you know will be better as the season goes along? And I think we'll get a sense of what the Big Ten thinks of Nebraska in 2026 by where a marquee game early is positioned so that it can be a TV game. Because look, I think the SEC thinks that Ole Miss will drop off, but we don't want to get them in October or November when they have a 500 record. Let's get the Lane game early, so that game is September 19th.
So here's what I think, and I'm just going to spoil this for you right now. There are going to be people in the national media drinking the Kool-Aid again for Nebraska football. Okay, they're going to go ahead and look and be like, oh my God, they had 91 underclassmen. They're bringing all these guys back. They're going to convince themselves that these younger dudes who played a lot of football are going to get better. They're going to go ahead and be like, oh, the O-line, they made a great hire in Jeep Wade. They made a great hire in Rob Orich. Nebraska football's got a lot of money. They're going to go to the transfer portal and get some big guys. Okay. You know, and people,
I think the national media is going to be a little bit shy.
I think
tepid.
No, I think they'll
jump on them right away until Rule goes on his speaking tour in May.
I think what'll happen is they'll go ahead and be like, they're returning a lot of young guys. They've made some coaching hires.
But what if they don't return 15?
Okay, so then no. So if they return, so that's a great question. If they return 15 or they bring in a quarterback that has equal excitement around it, which I'm not saying is going to happen, but I'm just saying if the quarterback position,
be quite the twist.
If the quarterback position is solidified and you're looking at the hires they made and the guys they're bringing back and the transfer portal acquisitions, Nebraska football will be hey, no one's going to put them in the playoff, Gary, but you're going to get this. Hey, look out. Hey, look out. They might be they got a tough schedule, but hey, look out. That might be a sleeper. They might be a true sleeper team.
So wouldn't it be framed like this? Nebraska has a schedule that if they play well, they could help themselves in the playoff race if they can just get to 9.
Bang.
If they get to 10 with that schedule,
Bang.
they're guaranteed.
And so here's what's going to happen. They will.
We've been doing this way too long.
The Big Ten will set it up this way. They'll play Illinois, who'll have like a solid roster, right? And they'll go ahead and they'll play Illinois. And if they win that Illinois game, they'll be 4-0. You're like, oh my God, 4-0. Nebraska. Their next game, do you know who it'll be against?
Can't do it.
It'll be against Ohio State. It'll be Ohio State at home in week 5. And that'll be like either big noon or the NBC night game. And it'll be set up as, who are you? Like a program defining game. We'll have a round table about it. We'll be talking about it the entire week leading up. Ohio State, Nebraska. This is Matt Rule's opportunity to break through the glass ceiling, to finally prove, hey, year 3 is actually year 4. That's what it'll be. You know I'm right. I'm right.
I know you're right, but I don't want to admit it.
You know I'm spot on.
Because I don't want to do this. It's way too early.
But
haven't even played the spring game bowl game.
I know. But they're gonna have a good enough offseason where people are like, hell yeah, they're a sleeper. Look out. They could be they're bringing back a lot of guys. Dylan Raiola, before the injury, he got better. There are reports coming out that he's lost 20 pounds. That he's gotten into better shape. That his mobility. I'm having people tell me his mobility has gotten better. They went out. They're
basically writing the script for the offseason.
Hey, they got this tackle on the transfer portal who did all of this. They're going to be better on the O-line. Elijah Pritchett, he's a former 5-star. He played better at the end of the year. This Nebraska football team, they could surprise people in the Big Ten. So
it doesn't matter if they get crushed in Vegas.
No.
We're on to 2026.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I've written you the script. I've told you that's exactly what's going to happen. And they will play Illinois. And Illinois won't be great, and if they win that game, they'll be 4-0, and then they'll have their big marquee home matchup, and you'll be like, this is it. And it'll be deja vu all over again. It'll be the same thing we did in 2019, the same thing we did in 2025. It'll be here it is. Can you do it? And we'll see.
All right. When we come back, let's dribble some basketballs here. We've talked about Nebraska basketball. January 2nd, reserved for Nebraska basketball. So if you're going to do an Instagram post, either get it out of the way on January 1 or wait till January 3rd. So we haven't talked much about Creighton. I think the Kansas State loss on Saturday was worse than their loss to Nebraska. Dive into that when we come back on 1620 The Zone. All right, there is a old friend alert that is going portaling. So Ryan Burns, who covers Golden Gopher Athletics, reporting this morning, Malachi Coleman has been removed from the online roster. Source to Ryan Burns has confirmed that Malachi Coleman intends to enter the transfer portal. So 5 catches this past year. He had 1 against Nebraska. He actually had more receiving yards than Barney and Key combined in that win by Minnesota. But Malachi Coleman will be looking for his 3rd school in his last 3 years.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he ends up if he ends up at a P5 program. Just because I don't know. Do you want like I think everybody gets 1, right? That's the attitude I've always gotten with the transfer portal. You get 1. I don't know. I think it's pretty rare unless you're like a D lineman to see you go from P4 to P4 to P4 to 3 different schools. You know, I think for me, Gary, it just always comes down to like I understand with his want to be a wide receiver. I understand that that's the position he wanted to play. But I think that with just how big he is and his makeup and his speed and his strength, like I've always thought that he could be a really good defensive end. And I question. Maybe it'll take him this time. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know the situation. I don't know the family. I don't have any inside sources. But maybe it'll take him this go around to be like, you know what? I'm just going to play the position that gives me the best chance to stay on the football field. Because clearly, you know, in a couple of stops trying to play wide receiver, it just hasn't worked out for him.
Early in his time at Lincoln East, there were a lot of people who looked at the size and his length and said, man, if you could put weight on him.
Yeah.
He could be a rush end potentially. I don't think that's an interest because you have to put weight on.
Yeah.
And you like playing where you're catching passes and that's what you've done and you got speed. I don't know where he goes from here.
Neither do I.
I don't think he should have ever came to Nebraska to start. He would have been one of those guys that could have left Lincoln, gone somewhere else, had some success and come back to Lincoln because everybody knew who he was.
Yeah.
He was really kind of he was the beginning of the NIL era when it comes to local products. And there was so much attention towards him. Maybe he just needs to get away from this area. Maybe he needs to go somewhere where he's far away.
Sure.
And nobody knows him.
Yeah.
Because even when he went to Minnesota, people knew him because Minnesota recruited him heavily.
Yeah.
Didn't, get the victory. Nebraska, beat Colorado on signing day to keep him in the recruiting class. Might be best for him to get away. Or is there an FCS program that is around here?
I was going to say.
We don't know what his desire is. Like, do you want to make it to the NFL? Do you just want to play ball? Well, there's a guy in Brookings. There's a guy in, Vermilion, just got knocked out of the quarterfinals. You can go further north on Interstate 29. I don't know, but 3 schools in 3 years, I think you got to get away from the area.
I wonder, too, what his market is going to be like. And maybe if it's not to his liking, does he try and go the JUCO route, right? And just try and like rack up stats there and try and like, raise his stock in that way. It's just, I don't know. I agree.
Well, people always look at him and go, he's 6'4", he's 190. We can do whatever. But he was only 9 targets, 5 receptions this past year at Minnesota and did not hit the field regularly.
And then he had to get redshirted, the year before at Nebraska with a wide receiver room that, we later found out definitely wasn't as deep as we thought it was going to be, where if he was a serviceable wide receiver, you would think that he could, break into that room. There are very few guys that have just NFL bodies, right? That is just,
there's a lot of guys that have NFL bodies, but do they have NFL minds?
Well, that's the thing is what I'm getting at, right? Where it's just like, he has it. He's been blessed with the size and the length and the strength and the speed. And so to me, I think there's got to be a coach out there somewhere that goes ahead and says, look, we believe in you. We believe in the measurables. We believe you can be great. It's just whether or not, he's willing to buy in to do that, whatever it may be, even if it isn't being a wide receiver, which he clearly wants to be.
I think the scary thing is his best football may be past him, and his best football might have been his junior year at Lincoln East.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's just like you look at a guy in terms of measurables and you're like, how didn't it work out? And he is, for me, definitely one of them, because you just cannot deny that it's almost as if most people are only blessed with like one or two gifts, right? He's been blessed with all of them.
Yeah, I wonder if things would have been different if Mickey would have been the wide receiver coach.
Probably.
Because Mickey stayed on top of him. When Mickey became the interim coach, Mickey tells a story of when Nebraska was playing at Purdue. And he saw big things in Malachi.
Mm-hmm.
And he told a story about, morning of the Purdue game, we're on the road, I'm the interim coach, and I go to hop on the treadmill, and who am I talking to? I'm FaceTime, and I'm waking up Malachi Coleman asking him, hey, are you not in the gym? What'd you do last night?
Yeah.
You played a high school game. What are you doing today? Are you recovering? He stayed on him consistently.
Yeah. Well,
and when Mickey was not going to be retained, that's when Colorado got involved. And then Nebraska, you remember the reaction when Nebraska
big deal.
Yeah, it was a big deal because he was a local kid.
Yes.
It was your first recruiting class in a couple of weeks that you had to put together, and you retained a kid who you're like, okay, I can see the potential. But if Mickey was his position coach, I wonder if he would have, if the dialing in and reaching your potential would have happened sooner.
Mickey Joseph is regarded as one of the best wide receiver coaches still in the country. I mean, he is responsible for guys who are playing in the NFL, and he's responsible for one of the greatest wide receiver seasons in Nebraska school history in Trey Palmer. So yeah, and by the way, Mickey is still a coach in college football.
Yeah, Grambling could be a spot.
It could be, and maybe if he ends up going to Grambling, that answers your question completely. That's that probably had something to do with it. It's just, to me, it just from I'm a broadcaster, but I like to be pretend scout. Like from the pretend scout part of my mind, I look at a guy like Malachi and I just wonder. I go, how did it in any sort of capacity not work out?
You watch him and he's 6'4", he's 190. He's got a big heart. He's got the right mind. What he wants to do to help people to tell his story.
Yes.
Great
point.
I think too many people know him. Too many people go, man, you should be this, this, and this. Maybe that's not what he can be. And that's why I think getting away from here where nobody knows you. Okay. Because even in Minnesota, people are like, okay, Nebraska couldn't fix him. Man, he was a star. He wasn't really a star. Well, okay. His junior year was really good. He had a really good quarterback at Lincoln East. I saw him way too much as a senior in high school take plays off. But when it was time to play a play, you saw the glimpses. You just didn't see him consistently. No. And then you get at Nebraska where you went from being the best player on the field on a weekly basis in the state of Nebraska to you went to being in a room where you were not the number one guy.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a dog in that room and you were there, and that dog should have shown you what it takes if you want to be an NFL wide receiver.
Sure. So. But to add to your point, Gary, real quick, you go ahead and you talk about, Minnesota knew him, right? And they go, Nebraska couldn't get it done. Well, here's the double-edged sword of that. If it doesn't, and this is speculation, but if it doesn't start to develop, right, and happen the way that Minnesota wants it to happen, what does the conversation then flip to? Oh, maybe Nebraska was right. Oh, maybe this is what Nebraska was experiencing. Oh, maybe he, isn't fixable in a way, right? And so you're cooking with peanut oil in the fact of he just has to go to a place where there is no preconceived notion, where it's just like, nope, he's a player, he's a prospect, he could be really good. We got 3 years with him. Let's figure it out. Let's go and do it.
I said this earlier. We touched a little bit on the Creighton loss to Kansas State, which I think is a worse loss than Nebraska because, and you might say, whoa, they lost to their rival. They got shown the door. You're at home, good crowd on Saturday. You're at home, and you are at 1 point down 20 to Kansas State. This is not UConn. This is not St. John's. You were down 20 at 1 point to Kansas State. So in my opinion, worse loss than Nebraska, even though the margin of defeat is much smaller. But I said this earlier, and I'm believing this as I listen to Mac. And Mac's kind of taken you, Mac's being super honest, which is great, but he's taken you through, this is starting to wear on him. And he's trying not to just completely, run his team over, but he's telling you the truth that if you'd like to watch Creighton basketball, Swartz, Dix, Green, Zugic, and probably Ty Davis are going to be guys you're going to get to watch a lot of. Josh Dix had a really good week. Josh Dix defensively, Sanford, and then Haggerty. So Josh Dix had a good week. Team did not have a good week. I think you can be on Team Mac because he won't go out this way, and he'll learn from mistakes that were made on the construction of the roster. Maybe GM Mac failed head coach Mac, and head coach Mac is trying to fix the mistakes that GM Mac gave him.
Yeah.
You can be on Team Mac, but not on Team 25-26.
Is there? I'll just say this: it's not a likable team. It really isn't a likable team. Like it's a lot of guys who were alphas on teams that didn't really win. And you can tell that some of these guys don't really know, fully how to play winning basketball and basketball the way that Mac wants them to play basketball. And it's a lot of dudes who went out there, you got in the transfer portal, they're highly compensated. And all their head coach is asking from them, Gary, is for effort and communication.
Isn't that wild?
He's asking for the bare minimum.
Yeah, but isn't the bare minimum? I mean, I saw a reaction and listened to some of the show. Lowered the standards that, hey, at least they showed some fight.
Well,
that's not the Creighton establishment, but can you build on it? But to your point, it's kind of frustrating as a head coach is basically just want some heart and hustle.
I don't know. That's all he's asking.
I don't know what it was said at halftime, but they came out and they played with heart and hustle in the second half, but then they lacked that clutch genie. When they were making it tight and it was a tension convention, you're like, oh, this is going to flip and people are going to talk about this is the win that turns the season around. You went 2 for 8 from the field in the last 3 minutes when you had a chance to flip it.
Yeah.
If it's just simple as heart and hustle, we're going to find out. I mean, like, what do they build on? They play in Cincinnati on Wednesday night, but Mac is going through it, and I can't imagine the conversations that he's having with his team. And you're going to find out who wants to play and who is like,
yeah.
Because I think he's found his 6 guys.
I do too.
And those are probably not
they're not.
You have 2 major injuries, but those are not the 6 guys you probably would have completely pegged.
No.
Even like Isaac Trout. Isaac Trout has 18.
Well,
okay, the other and the inconsistency, like Ty Davis. Ty Davis looked like against Nebraska, he should be playing for Ryan Miller in Murray, Kentucky.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden on Saturday against Kansas State, Ty Davis is a big reason why you got a spark and you're back into the game.
But the reason why he gave him a spark, Gary, wasn't because he was making all these shots. It was because he was actually diving on the ground and like playing hard basketball. And the reason why they were 2 of 8 from the field at the end of the game was because they had been playing the same 5 guys for 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. And Max says in the postgame, he goes, maybe this deep team isn't as deep as we thought it was. I
asked the question, could 1620 the J handle one team being in the NCAA tournament that is not normally in the NCAA tournament, the other being in the NIT? Would our station break?
Not only being in the NCAA tournament, but Nebraska is 12 in the net. They technically would be a 3 seed at this point. If the season ended today.
It's early. It's only 11 games in. And that's a good point to bring in my good friend Sam. Happy Victory Monday for Nebraska basketball, a road game against a good Big Ten team.
I mean, haven't we been doing that for the last since the crown ended? It's every Monday is a Victory Monday.
That's true. 15 in a row.
They're playing really, really good basketball, and as a diehard Husker fan, you're always walking on eggshells. Like, when's the shoe going to drop? But you hear Ion College basketball, Field of 68, all these coaches giving them praise, and everybody's. Jamarcus Lawrence and Fred Hoiberg are interviewed on Field of 68. It's like, this is maybe real. And it's really, you kind of have to pinch yourself a little bit. But I mean, the team comes together well, even with a Lloyd Christmas haircutted D-head. I mean, the kid has some chutzpah,
nice.
in the Hanukkah, because it is Hanukkah. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy. It's something. It's a foreign feeling, and you just have that feeling that on January 2nd they're going to go out and they're going to probably beat Michigan State. They're going to have so much juice. And I told my buddies yesterday. I said they're going to lose at Ohio State for the first time this year, and I'll take it. And one thing, Gary, that you had said, why not? Why can't we just in March and in late February, why can't we just be playing for seed? And I think this year we might just be playing for seed. And so my fingers are crossed, my toes are crossed. I'm unbelievably ecstatic. And one thing I wanted to say is, like, as long as Frager is not like the Nebraska Grant Gibbs or somewhere in that realm. Just let him embrace that role of just being kind of a schmuck at times, but also backing it up with his play.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Sam, thanks for the phone call. There's another part of this team. Man, they got some toughness between the ears. It would have been like when end of the first half on Saturday when Illinois comes back and they tie the game and the officiating starting to get sideways.
Yeah.
Nebraska did one thing that I think shows a maturity. They didn't spend a bunch of time moaning and complaining. Like, they were upset with a couple of foul calls, but it didn't linger. Like, they moved on to the next play, and they just played. And there's been teams along the way in Fred's tenure that get caught up in that. And the next thing you know, you go from having a lead where you're a double-figure lead, it's tied, and then it flips, and you're down double figures, and you're trying to figure out how this all happened. And so then you're trying to claw back. But you're thinking, man, we got screwed on that call that happened 5 minutes ago. Between the ears, this is a really, really tough basketball team. It doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. They celebrate accordingly, but they're on to the next one. But they're 11. They're 11-0, and I think people, as you flip to full Big Ten after, no disrespect to North Dakota and New Hampshire, people might change their expectations on just making the tournament, winning a game. But do they have the capability in certain matchups to get to the second weekend?
Yeah.
That's the unknown. They're a tournament team. Now, how good of a tournament seed can you go and get using the Big Ten as an outlet?
And on top of that, we always talk about the whole, like, they haven't won an NCAA tournament game.
Which is true.
But, how many times have they been the higher seed in those games too? That's
this game at the Metrodome.
Well, I know that I know that it's happened before, but I'm just saying in general,
it's not Long Island.
It's not just a
there was a game in Memphis.
Like, it'd be helpful if they were playing a 13 seed, or if they were playing a 12, or if they were playing like they were an 11.
This would be the year Nebraska got a 5 and they were part of that 5-12.
It would be.
Yeah.
But that is the PTSD in you coming out, not the, hey, they're going to be 13-0 more than likely heading into a Michigan State game, and which if they'll be 13-0 with 2 more weeks with there's plenty of ranked matchups on the way in college basketball, they might be top 10.
Yeah, I don't know, because there's not necessarily, because teams are going into finals.
Yeah.
And so they play that couple of garbage games. I don't know, they'll be top 10. I wonder how close they are to 15 today when that comes out.
They were ranked 13th on the On3 basketball poll. So we'll see where they are now after their win.
But remember, Fred Hoiberg had an Iowa State team in 13-14, won their first 14. If by chance you get a game against Michigan State at PBA and you win, that would be 14-0. And there's a lot of similarities that Fred keeps sharing between the Iowa State teams that he liked and what he has with this team. Sam has told us that his dad has told him that this is the closest team, the type of way it's built. I don't know, there's a Jordan Niang on the roster.
Sure.
But in terms of how they play, this is the closest of any Nebraska team that he's had to those Iowa State teams that were really good.
This is the closest Fred has come to having a roster, I think, that can play Hoiberg, like can actually play what, like to your point, what made him successful at ISU.
Yeah. All right, take a break. We'll come back. We'll put a wrap on the show. Crossover is coming up next. We'll try and console Happer. It was a rough Saturday. Then it was a rough Sunday.
I tried consoling him already on Blue Jay Overtime. He came on the show.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Was he catatonic?
No, he was fine. He was well-mannered to begin, and then it was teetering just a little bit at the end, of like, damn, this sucks.
It's very, very odd to see the Creighton men and women just struggling.
Yeah.
You just don't see it. That's how good Jim Flannery and Greg McDermott have gotten their programs.
It's very rare to see just Creighton men's basketball not playing good basketball.
All right, 1620 The J will be bringing you our journey to the Nebraska NCAA tournament site. Maybe we'll go to Oklahoma City. We might go to St. Louis.
Are you already looking at sites?
I do know where they are.
You were dogging on me for some things I was looking at.
I haven't looked at tickets. Hey, weird things happen. We just had a weird sports weekend.
That's true. We were having, by the way, similar conversations last year about this team, about, oh, hey, after the 5-game win streak and win over UCLA, how high can they go?
Well, they got us to Vegas. We're back with more after this.
Hey, Rascal Flatts is bringing their Life is a Highway tour to Omaha, featuring special guests Lauren, Elena, and Chris Lane, Saturday, January 25th at the CHI Health Center in Omaha. Listen all week to Unsportsmanlike Conduct for a chance to win your way into the show. More details can be found at 1620thezone.com.
I'd have been told not to take this call, but against my better wishes, I will. Good morning, Eric.
Hey, guys. How are we doing today?
Sorry,
hey, I'm calling
Eric.
in so late.
Eric, you and I are doing great, my friend. I'm so happy to hear from you.
Well, hey, I'm sorry. I had to call in and just say, Patrick Surtain, man. Defensive player of the year last year. I know he won't win it this year, but I don't know of maybe 3 other cornerbacks in the NFL that could have pulled off that pick.
Oh, it was great. Probably Jalen Johnson if I had to throw a guy in there. But you're totally right. Thank you. Thank you so much, my friend, for doing that.
And I was really hoping my defense would be the one to take out Patrick Mahomes, but we weren't able to get it done.
That's okay. I won't support that, but I will support you beating the Packers, Eric. Thank you.
Thank you.
Won 11 in a row. That was a stupid comment about
that was a dumb comment.
But Eric did not hear earlier. I said if I was betting man, I would take Denver to win the AFC.
Yeah, I think they got to be the highest odds at this point. Now, Buffalo's win yesterday, that was massive.
Who is their head coach?
Sean McDermott.
Okay.
Did you see Vrabel's comments on Josh Allen? He goes, he's 6'5", 250 pounds with an awesome arm, and he's super smart. I don't know what you want me to. He goes, I don't know what you want me to tell you.
They made. I think the Bills made the biggest statement yesterday. You're down 21 to New England. That's a good New England team. That's back-to-back weeks that Josh Allen has had to pull a rabbit out of the hat in the second half. I don't trust Sean McDermott.
He's had
I get that. And here's how things have changed in the AFC with Kansas City's downfall this year, and then tie it into Mahomes getting injured. How many quarterbacks? Because Burrow will not be in the postseason. Lamar Jackson. I mean, Cincinnati didn't even show up yesterday.
No,
that was embarrassing. So Baltimore wins that game. Then you have Josh Allen. If you the three, and there's only two of them that have been, blocked by Patrick Mahomes. This is the year.
Yeah.
And it might be Bo Nix.
I know.
That jumps up and wins a Super Bowl. I mean, this is the greatest opportunity for Josh Allen to win a Super Bowl.
But that's the problem with kind of the Bills. They have been basically on the same timeline as the Chiefs this entire time. Their roster was young and hip at the same time. KC's roster was young and hip. Their young quarterback was breaking into a superstar at the same time Kansas City's young quarterback was breaking it. They've been on the same timeline. And so, Kansas City's gotten old. Kansas City's kind of fallen off. Buffalo they're not at the same, granted, they're not at the same point, right, that Kansas City's at, but they have shown some cracks in the armor, for sure. I mean, they lose to Miami. You're like, holy crap. Like, I mean, they went 2 straight weeks without scoring 20 points in a game. That hadn't happened in like 4 or 5 years. So I think yesterday was a character-building win for them, but at the same time, I always look at how many ways do you have, like, can you win? Like, how many ways can you win a football game? I think Buffalo has less ways to win the football games than the Patriots do and then the Broncos do. Because if Buffalo's going to win football games, they have to not only have Josh Allen be Superman, they're going to have James Cook be Superman too. And if you're counting week in and week out, especially in the playoffs where things get tighter, if you're counting on your guys to just be Hall of Fame level performances, game in and game out, that's tough. That's tough. That they can't really lean on the defense like New England can kind of lean on like Denver can lean on their defense. Like they can't, I don't know. They're expecting a lot. And then to your point too, you got a head coach. I don't trust Sean McDermott in the playoffs as far as I could throw him. And he's had ample opportunity to prove that he can be trusted and he can't.
All right. Tomorrow, we'll discuss a cold Monday night game between Miami and Pittsburgh.
Miami did that thing where they went and they practiced in the snow with their with limited clothing on to act like they're all tough and everything. You just don't touch the money. Don't do that.
You know what? I was going to walk into the studio this morning like Mac Hollins
with no shirt on
and no shoes. But we have rules here at NRG Media.
He didn't want to wear a jersey out for warm-ups, and they made him wear a jersey, and so he cropped it up all the way up to his chest. It was crazy.
You can do that if you win. If you lose, people will notice.
Well, we noticed.
All right. Thanks everybody that joined the show this morning. Big thanks to Evan Bland, all of you on this Monday, which we're all trying to get through it. What a weekend of sports. All right. Crossovers coming up next. We'll see you tomorrow at 6.